All right. Let's call this meeting to order. So in closed session, the board had voted unanimously to accept the resignation of a certificated director effective at the end of the school year. And the board also took action to impose these following discipline on a classified employee. The board is to impose the following discipline. It is a 3-day suspension and counseling with the supervisor. Is that, do you take note of that, Jonathan? All right. And it is, those are the items. Yes, it is a unanimous vote from the board. Good. Okay, we are now in. Do I have a motion to review and approve the open session agenda?
Motion to approve the open session agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we hear Michael?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, I said aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Seeing none, let's move on to our flag salute. Please join me in the flag salute.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Comments from the public. Members of the public may address the board on any item not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act, Government Code 549542A and .3 preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required from the board or district staff, and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. If you would like to speak on the item on tonight's agenda or one that does not appear on tonight's agenda, please log on to MUSD's webpage, fill out your request form, and email it to Scott. You all right? Okay. On the form, please list your name, organization, telephone number, email, home address, and the item number you would like to speak to. For items not on tonight's agenda, you will be able to speak under the comments from the public portion of the agenda. For items on the agenda, you will be able to speak at the time of that item. When your name is called, please come to the monitor and state your name and address for the record, and limit your remarks to 2 minutes for individuals and 5 minutes for a group. The district asks for contact information from those who's wishing to speak so staff can follow up on issues brought to our attention. Thank you for your participation in the civic engagement. Right, oath of office.
I do have one comment.
Okay.
Okay, so this is from Robert John of 1866 North Park Victoria Drive. He wants to say thank you to teachers, staff, parents, and students for making Educate Everywhere flexible learning successful. What should the expectation be for students who complete this school year in regard to completion of the curriculum for a particular grade level or class? I.e., is it reasonable that in the fall, kinder students will need to catch up on the kinder curriculum given our shelter-in-place order? You are welcome to reply at a later board meeting or outside of the meeting. And that's the only one we have for public comment at this time.
Great, thank you. Moving on to oath of office. With this item, I'd like to first congratulate Min for winning the election in such a decent manner at the time of so much negativity in our political atmosphere, both local and national levels. But you ran such a great campaign, which shows the respect for the process, and you consistently exhibit your character, your integrity. And again, that was the reason why I supported you from the very beginning. So in short, this is a grit and grace winning. I would like to congratulate you and to welcome you to MUSD family again. And this time you got to stay for 4 years. Congratulations. And I'm going to turn this back to Superintendent Jordan to administer or to invite Mayor Tran.
Thank you. So Min, No, if I could have you come over here, and also Mayor Tran. And it's my understanding that you will have Mayor Tran, you'd like him to read the oath to you, to repeat after him. Okay, so Mayor, you'll lead Min in the oath, pausing so he can repeat after you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Jordan. Such an honor to be here this evening for the oath of office for Mr. Minno, our soon to be school board trustee here in Milpitas. I cannot speak enough about Min's character, his integrity, his honesty, and just the way he treats people. And tonight is a historic night for Min and for our community. And as you can see, we're doing it a little different this time around. But as I was speaking with Min earlier this evening, prior to the board coming back from closed session, I spoke about the really the extraordinary need for leadership. And I know with the addition of Min, the board will get even stronger beyond what I could have imagined. So Min, we'll go ahead and do the oath here. I'll ask you to raise your right hand as I will raise mine. And so you can repeat after me. Ready? Okay. And you got a face covering on, but you want to show your face a little bit here. So try to keep the paper down. All right, here you go. For the pictures. I would say keep it on. I would say, yeah, I would say the people would love for you to keep it on. Yeah. Great picture opportunity, absolutely. Okay, here we go. The oath of office for governing board member for the Milpitas Unified School District, California. Repeat after me, sir. I, Min No,
I, Min No,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith
That I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution
to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of California,
of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
that I am about to enter.
that I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Now I need you to, we need to sign.
Okay.
So, over here. I need you to sign here. Mayor? Need you to sign here.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
And welcome in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you, your service. And Min, would you like to speak?
Well, thank you. Good evening, honorable board members, executive cabinet, honorable Mayor Rich Strand, and to all the residents watching tonight on the live stream. The journey to get here tonight has just been incredible. It's really been an enlightening path. What I've seen from the city of Milpitas is just, it's a community that people are proud of. People want to come here, live here, raise their families, and you're entrusting us with your children. So I really, truly appreciate that. To all the residents of Milpitas, I really want to thank you all for really believing in me, but specifically to my supporters and the 4 unions that have endorsed me. The teachers union, the classified staff union, the police and fire unions. And coincidentally, these are the civic workers that are really working tirelessly to keep our community educated and safe. So thank you all to all those civic workers. I truly appreciate everything that's really evolved. And I really want to say, in today's changing environment, it's been challenging for a lot of our families, but together we'll get through it. And together we'll ensure that our children's future is intact. So really thank you all for tonight. And thank you, Mayor Rich Strand, for being here. Thank you to my wonderful family for their support. Unfortunately, my wife couldn't be here. She got called into the Santa Clara County Emergency Operations Center as a disaster service worker. So I really appreciate her dedication and her work to keep us safe as well too. So I love you, kids, if you're watching, thank you so much. It's almost time for your bedtime too. So thank you.
Thank you, Min. Vice President Norwood and Clerk Kelly Yiptorn, would you like to share anything to Min?
Thank you, Min, for your dedication, for your commitment, for your willingness to go out into the community, to knock on doors, to hear many different types of voices, to keep the children at the forefront of your vision of being a part of this board. We look forward to working with you for as long as possible. I look forward to your insight, to your understanding, and making the board that we have today even stronger. We are stronger together.
Welcome in. You know, when you first came on the board the first time, I knew something was special was I saw something special in you. And, you know, I'm glad that you're back here tonight, and I'm very proud to be working on this board with you. I know that you're going to do great. You have a family here, and your roots are here, and we're just, for me, I'm very proud to be working with you. So welcome.
Thank you. And now the board will take a few minutes recess. We will see you back very soon.
Hello?
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Okay, great.
I'm able to connect now.
Oh, you're able. Yeah, just your regular connection. You see? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, and I got one more. I could send it to you if you wanted to read it. It's just the next public comment. Or do you want me to read it? It's real short.
Either way,
I'll send
I guess we're waiting for Superintendent Jordan and
everyone since that.
Vice President Norwood to log on.
Okay. Your phone.
Kelly, are you on?
So, do you want me to just read that, or did you want?
I can't see.
You got to get out of that. Cancel.
I'm here.
Okay.
And it's Schlesbaum. Schlesbaum.
Schlesbaum, yeah.
Right?
Mhm. Welcome to Milpitas Unified School District meeting, April 28th. It is now 7:51 p.m. Right before we had a recess, we had the oath of office. Mayor Rich Tran administered the oath to swear Min No into our MUSD family. I'd like to welcome Min to MUSD family, and we are proud to have your service. Thank you so much. And right now we are going to continue on item 12. That's the report on March 3rd, certification of election result. Superintendent Jordan.
Thank you, President Lian. Attached are the results of the special election for March, and it certifies that from the registrar of voters that Min No received the highest number of votes for the board member vacancy with 52.73%, and the person with the second highest is Ling Kong of 39.49% and Vance Bong of 7.78%. And the registrar of voters, Shannon Bushy, does declare that our new board member, Hai Min No, has successfully won the election and will serve as the board member in that vacancy until the end of that term, which is following the election in November of 2020, at which time the position will be filled by whomever is elected to that seat in the November election.
Thank you very much. I do have a public comment. At this time, I would like to share that. It is from Charles, and I apologize if I don't say your last name correctly. Baum. His comment is, when will we start brainstorming on how social distancing in August or July, if the governor gets his way, will there be a general population focus group or an admin team? And Charles is residing at 1775 Millmont Drive in Milpitas. Moving on to our MUSD strategic goals.
President Lynn,
Yes.
I'd like to thank Charles for his comment in terms of looking towards the future of education in Milpitas Unified School District. And Superintendent Jordan, if you can keep not only the staff, but the community abreast in terms of the vision as far as moving forward in the district as we determine how we're going to move forward with all the different things that we've learned, what we're doing, and how to make sure that we make sure the community, our students, parents, and of course our teachers remain safe, active, and the opportunity to do their jobs in the fullest extent.
I will do that. And in fact, we're planning for a tentative special board meeting on May 19th at 5 p.m. to provide the board an update on COVID-19.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to see if Scott would post the MUSD 2018 to 2021 strategic goals onto the screen for our members to follow. All right. With that on there, we are now moving on to item 14, Superintendent's report. Superintendent Jordan.
I am very pleased to, for tonight's recognitions, they all are centered on the culture of we, which is our strategic goal number 1. And we have highly visible activity around building a culture of we, and in particular in the way that it provides opportunities for our learners to identify purpose in their learning pathways, which is goal number 2, as well as we have students who are demonstrating the skills that are needed to be future ready learners. And tonight's recognitions are 4 such leaders at Milpitas High School who have initiated non-profit organizations around COVID-19. And these 4 leaders, as well as the students with whom they work, represent the idea of taking every challenge as an opportunity and creating something from it, a sense of purpose. And so I'd like to first recognize Nyla Chote, who has formed an organization called Read for a Cause, or My Roots Are Deep. And her organization provides students of all ages, young and old, with opportunities to hear stories that are nested in a person's cultural identity and experiences. So I'd like to introduce Nyla Chote.
Hello, everyone. I just want to thank you all for recognizing me today, and I hope everyone is being safe and is doing well during this quarantine. Right now, with My Roots Are Rich, currently our project is called Read for a Cause. We've been getting nothing but positive feedback, not only in the Milpitas community, but from other outside school districts who have been using our books for their classes, and just, yeah. And this is something I'm just really passionate about, and I'm just super appreciative to Miss Jordan and Mr. Norwood for really giving me this idea and letting me just roll with it and have a lot of fun with it. I've been able to meet a lot of really amazing people and get some amazing donations from the Rotary, and I'm just super thankful, and thank you guys.
Thank you, Nyla.
Our next leader I would like to introduce you to is Amy, and she and her student group have established an organization called Maskify, and they've produced Amy Stanley has produced over 800 masks, which they've donated to the city of Milpitas and other first responders, and are currently working to produce masks for those at El Camino Hospital. And I'd like to introduce Amy Stanley to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for recognizing me. It really means a lot to me. Am I allowed to share my screen? Because I would like to share a few pictures of my team's progress.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I would just like to go over a little bit about my project so that everyone is able to understand and have a bigger picture of what my organization is all about. And so this organization that my friends and I created is Project Maskify. And so the problem we are trying to solve is that the shortage of masks for healthcare providers as well as first responders in the Santa Clara County. And so our mission is to make handmade masks and provide them with it. And so far, we have been able to make 800 masks. And in fact, this coming week, we'll be reaching our mark of 1,000 masks. And so far, we have been able to donate to the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, the Milpitas Police Department, the Milpitas Fire Department, Milpitas City Hall, Regional Medical Center, as well as Good Samaritan Hospital. And so here are also some pictures of our team in progress. On the left, you can see our donation to the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. And on the right, you can see some pictures of my team and I making masks. And here's a picture from the Milpitas Police Department. And this last donation was actually last week at Milpitas City Hall, in which we donated 150 masks. And so I hope you all understood a little about our project, and I would like to thank you all for recognizing me and my team. I couldn't have done it without the support of Milpitas Rotary Club, as well as the Silicon Valley Quilt Guild and Milpitas Board of Education. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Isabella Morrison, and her organization that she founded is called Milpitas Gives Back. And her organization is an opportunity for community members to share their empathy and gratitude towards those who are working to help us in our recovery from Corona. Isabella?
Hi, so I just wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity, and I'm also going to share about what I've been doing. So I created this as a way for people to send in thank you letters or just expression of appreciation for our essential workers, because I think that the community's support is definitely a big factor in motivating these people and reminding them of why they do what they do. And over the past couple of weeks, I've received over 40 letters. I do collections on a bi-weekly basis, and I'm finishing this round of collections tonight, actually. So I'm hoping to get the next collage and video up by tomorrow. And so each collage is composed of the collections from that period. And for the last one, I had over 28 photos, and this week it looks like it'll be about 20. And so I think that this is definitely an important project in just encouraging our healthcare workers, grocery store workers, and other frontline workers who are basically carrying our community and making sure we're safe. And so your guys' support is equally as important to me in encouraging me to continue this project. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Isabella. Our next organization is called Corona Recovery, and it's founded by Kate Lay and Brandon Wynn. And together, they and their team have raised almost $1,000, which is used to purchase items that may be out of reach for some of those less fortunate in our city. And in particular, people such as our seniors who might be homebound. And what their organization does is it provides necessities such as toilet paper and cleaning supplies for those who are homebound. So Kate?
Hi, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on this platform. With our project Corona Recovery, two of my friends and I, Isabella Kellis and Brandon Quinn, as well as a couple of other volunteers, we deliver groceries and other items to the elderly and disabled population of Milpitas. By doing this, we're trying to make shopping for necessities a safer and easier process for those who might be more vulnerable during this time. And as of right now, as you said, that we've accumulated a generous amount of donations to support costs for those who are financially insecure. And we've made a couple of successful deliveries and more to come. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, each of you. And what I love about our student leaders is that not only do you demonstrate to the world and to our Milpitas community what Milpitas High School and Milpitas Unified students are highly capable of, you inspire others. And as a matter of fact, we have another young leader who is currently working on her nonprofit organization to support the recovery for COVID-19. And we will get to hear from her and her team members at our next board meeting. And she has reached out and connected with a few of you who showed her how to form a nonprofit and how to establish a web page. And that's what leadership is about. It's about inspiring others to find their own why and to find that they are empowered to make a difference in their own lives as well as those around them. So thank you, each of you, for being phenomenal learners and leaders in Milpitas. Our next group of people who I would like to recognize are community members who have stepped forward to donate funds that assist Milpitas Unified School District in reaching its strategic goal number 4, which is to ensure that our students have the academic supports that they need, such as Chromebooks and nutrition, as well as in-home technology that is needed, especially for our learners with special needs. So I'd like to first recognize Excel Construction, and Steve Winslow is here to offer their donation of $1,000.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. Hey, I want to thank you and thank the board for allowing me to come and present this check for $1,000 to your COVID-19 fund. You know, as I listen to everything tonight, it reminds me of the challenges that you all are facing every day. And this is just a small token of our appreciation and our support for what you're doing in behalf of the Milpitas Unified community. And again, what you're trying to do to help with the distance learning and all these new and unprecedented firsts that that we're having to deal with. So thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Winslow. Thank you, Excel.
By the way, there's the check.
Thank you. Next, I would like to recognize Albert and Joanne Bodenhammer, and hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. And they have donated $1,000 to support Chromebooks for all of our students. And we gave out about 1,300 Chromebooks within a week, and since then have distributed another 3,000 Chromebooks. Wow. And the generous donation of you, Mr. and Mrs. Bodenhammer, helped us to achieve that. So I'd like to thank you for your generosity and for thinking about how you could support our learners.
Thank you. We know that in this time it's important that a lot of students have access to working at home. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, I would like to recognize Mr. David Houghton, who has donated in the past. And again, at this time, he's donated $10,000 this time to Rancho for their special education department. And I'm not sure that he is with us tonight, but I do want to let him know publicly how grateful we are that he continues to support our school district and our efforts in ensuring that every student can find his pathway and his purpose in learning. Scott, do we have Mr. Houghton with us tonight?
Scott said his computer's frozen.
Okay, so Mr. Houghton is not with us.
Hey, Cheryl, yeah, David Houghton is in his 90s and he wasn't able to partake, but yeah, he's been a great supporter of the district, and this is his second $10,000 donation. So we wanted to, give him a special thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Those are our recognitions for tonight, President Leon.
Thank you. Thank you. We are now moving on to, actually, Scott, you have a comment from the public that you want to share.
Yes, hold on one second. Here we go. You have to turn it on. Okay. All right, this is from Jackie Romero of Milpitas, California. And her public comment is, "Good evening. Today I bring you my concerns regarding MHS pool. Almost $9 million was invested with past bond 2012 to build an aquatic center. In September 2014, the pool was completed. To this date, high school students have not received aquatics program as mandated by California Education Code. Two concerns. First, after speaking with Miss Osborne, she stated when the aquatic center and pool was built, It did and still does not provide a safe place for her team to provide class for MHS students, despite the feedback she gave to district design team prior to building design. My second concern is there are many projects that will be built with new bond funds. It is imperative that stakeholders, especially teachers' feedback, is of utmost importance and taken into account, and to provide them with their needs to use the new buildings to highest and best use. We cannot have what happened to the pool happen to these new buildings on MHS campus. Let the teachers' voices be heard. The students' voices and parents' voices should also be taken into consideration. Although it's the teachers that are there long-term, they know the needs for their departments. I would like the board to remedy the situation with the MHS aquatic program. I will continue to pay my property taxes for that pool, while Milpitas High School students will never benefit from usage unless they are on a swim team or polo team. Where is the equity in this situation? I urge the board to help our principal and make this right. Thank you, Jackie Romero.
Thank you, Scott. Superintendent Jordan, on item 15, your executive cabinet
I
report.
apologize, Board President Hahn.
Yes.
Superintendent Jordan, could you follow up on the comment regarding Mrs. Osborne as far as the aquatic center not being able to provide services for the Milpitas High School students?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. All right, Superintendent Jordan.
Okay, we have our superintendent's executive cabinet reports, and I would like to start with Principal Jackie Vofelbinger to give her report for Matos.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
First, I want to praise the work of Nyla, Amy, Kate, and Isabella, and thank them for their leadership and contributions. And thank you also to our donors. Thank you for inviting us at Matos to share our work today. We're very happy to be here and very honored. I want to start by introducing everyone who will be speaking tonight. First, Marian Leung, who is our principal secretary. Miss Vivian Sun, one of our founding teachers, teacher in the 2nd, 3rd grade community, and also last year's Matos Teacher of the Year. Student, Miss Sanvi Shah, who is a 3rd grader, and Miss Tanya Kondratuk, who is a parent and our PTA president. So tonight we're going to focus on Goal 2, nurturing and culturally responsive school environments. And Mrs. Marian Leung, she will go first.
Hi, good evening, Superintendent Jordan and everyone. My name is Marian. I am a parent in Milpitas Unified School District for 9 years. I have been an employee for 4 years. And this is my first year as Principal Secretary at Matos. Matos is a very special school. We use a community learning model. Teachers and parents collaborate with each other to provide the best learning experience for the students. With Dr. Vo coordinating with all the certificated and classified staff, we all work together by using open communication in making sure our students are supported and they are in a safe learning environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marian. And given the current context for education, I'm going to talk about Educate Everywhere at Matos and share our strategy for developing our distance learning program. I'm just going to share a few bullets, and then Ms. Sun, she'll share some more. So I'd like to start by saying just how proud I am of our Matos teachers, our staff, students, and families for the level of commitment given to collaborating together to ensure that the learning continued. It took a lot of effort to create a system that was both flexible and rigorous, but they managed to create a high functioning system in a very short amount of time that we're very proud of. So our first step was to get learning plans posted in our Google Classrooms up and running. And teachers conducted Google Meets with every student and parent in that first week to ensure that they understood how to navigate the tools to optimize Educate Everywhere. We ensured that every student had a working device thanks to the support of our tech services. And once we had that in place, we needed to strike the balance for instruction that was live versus video recorded, and balance activities that were academic, social emotional, and computer adaptive or paper-based. And so now what we have is every learning community meets every morning. We have daily morning meetings. We have personalized learning plans, assigned work that is turned in and given feedback on, and interventions continue on a one-to-one or small group basis every week. So if students were getting interventions before the SIP order, they're still getting interventions now. And with all of our efforts, we're really proud to say that we have 100% engagement. Now, what we do know that that the amount of learning that is captured through Educate Everywhere, it varies from student to student. So even though they're technically engaged by attendance standards, we are continuously working on how to strengthen access for all of our students. And so Ms. Sun, she's going to speak some more to what we're doing with Educate Everywhere.
Thank you, Dr. Ofelbinger. Good evening, everyone. I'm Vivian Sun. I'm a third grade teacher at Matos. Thank you so much for giving us this platform to speak today. Educate Everywhere is definitely a continual learning process for all of us. But as a school team, we work together with the goal of providing quality education that sparks our students' minds and also supports them as well as, especially as they process this current difficult situation. As Jackie said, our first focus was to connect with all students. And so during the first week of SIP, we met with all students and families virtually to talk about what was going on, about our ideas for online education. And all of that helped to establish a very open and proactive communication with our families, which was so needed during these huge transitions. We appreciate our families so much for their flexibility and understanding, and also for their kind and candid feedback. We even brainstormed and planned with individual families to support student needs because we wanted to ensure as much as possible that there was a success team behind each child. After establishing that, we worked to support student learning. We started by collecting work such as formative assessments in photos of writing, Google Phone quizzes, and more to drive our instruction. And with that, we saw that small group and one-on-one instruction would be key. So we organized a structured schedule to provide some consistency in our students' lives. And really, we enjoyed our time together so much. We celebrated successes, we corrected misconceptions by building on each other's knowledge, and we were able to extend our learning from just on paper to being about being in a community together. The last thing that I'd like to share tonight is how we've been working on student engagement, and more specifically with using creative teaching strategies and keeping a sense of close and loving community in our school. Thanks to Jackie and Marion, the teachers at my school were able to attend a PD on teaching literacy virtually with magic, excitement, and a love for reading and writing. And we're hungry to learn more, especially about how to reach our students with the greatest needs and not let that gap widen. During Educate Everywhere, we also took the opportunity to teach more art, music, poetry, filming, and more to give students various avenues of expressions and also things to do when they're home, bored, maybe feeling a little bit stuffy. And so as a school, we continue to have fun and silly spirit days. We say affirmations every morning, and we try to be our best selves. These activities keep us feeling motivated and cared for. This journey has been very challenging, but I'm so thankful for your support, your honest communication, and for giving us a voice during this meeting. I'm really proud to be a teacher at Matos and a teacher of MUSD. Thank you. Next up, we have a very special student here to share her experiences with Educate Everywhere. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, I'm Sanvi Shah and I'm a third grader at Mabel Matos Elementary School. I feel good about Educate Everywhere because you can learn and play with your family members at the same time. Small group allows us to share our ideas, and the feedback my son gives on Google Classroom is helpful because it gives me one thing to improve in and one thing I did really well in. The feedback also helps because it makes us motivated to do more and improve in the thing that the comment told us to improve in. Educate Everywhere has been helpful by having the time to do assignments, and it lets us be independent in work by choosing what is helpful for my learning. In addition, it allows us to level up our typing skills, and it can only be done in online school. My favorite thing about Educate Everywhere is that we can pause the lesson whenever we want to, and it allows us to take our time and do the best of our ability for each assignment. The extra activities, like Phoenix Point Bonus and suggestions about how to help at home, are helpful for learning in many subjects. Overall, Educate Everywhere is helpful for learning in many ways. Thank you.
Jackie,
Yes.
I think she's coming for your job.
I think she could do a very, very good job.
Amazing.
Thank you. And then we have one more very important speaker, Miss Tanya Kondratuk, a parent and our PTA president.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for giving this opportunity to speak today. Truly an honor. To start, I just want to say that we parents sincerely love Matos. Matos is a truly amazing and unique school for different reasons. First, you know that our school practices a community learning model, and we truly love it. We enjoy observing how Matos nurtures love and gratitude toward the community and shows the true sense of it and its importance. And speaking of a community, being a PTA president, we are so grateful, happy, and lucky to have such an awesome community, which enabled us to raise quite a lot for PTA to cover the cost of school supplies, events, field trips that will happen in the future, and many more things that will happen in the future too. And we value it so much. And as a thank you and to show our appreciation to the community, PTA will provide each student a free yearbook and a free hands-on STEAM project to help parents engage those curious minds at home. Also, this model makes the teachers and staff more approachable. We all feel safer when we can always reach out to any member of the staff. And we can feel the atmosphere at Matos that we're welcome. And it's really awesome. Second, we see and we believe that Matos does its best to help kids grow academically. We love the way, we love the variety of different programs, activities, approaches teachers use and implement in order for students to get the best results. And at the same time, we love their how teachers cultivate the desire to study and learn more, be curious, and which I believe is one of the most important things, to love to learn and to learn and to know more. Third, of course, we like the way Matos pay special attention to emotional learning. It teaches important life attitudes, life values and skills, how to persevere, how to be confident, how to respect each other. And, you know, we have our morning meetups where kids get to say their affirmations and everything. But it's not only about that. Those values, skills, and attitudes are embedded throughout the whole educational process. And you can definitely feel it, because when I, for example, fail to do something, my 8-year-old daughter tells me, "It's okay, mom, next time you just persevere more and you'll be all right." And we were so amazed to see how so fast our teachers came up with Educate Everywhere for our school. I just simply can't find enough words for appreciation. The program is so thoroughly created, so thoughtful of every detail, very precise plan for the whole week, for every day. we feel really, really lucky, and I can imagine how much effort and time has been put in. And it's not only my opinion, you know, I'm a PTA president, so I communicate with a lot of parents and they all think the same. We love the support Matos gives our kids and us. Zlata, my daughter, has been enjoying it so much. And I love the way teachers come up with something exciting to engage them, like showing them their garden, their flight trips, sing together, show their favorite place in the house. I think it's truly engaging and connecting. And even though we can all agree these are not the easiest times, but I really believe it's a great opportunity to develop and improve different skills for our kids and for us too. For example, work more independently, plan their time wisely, value their time, be more self-sufficient. And I can already see changes in my daughter's Lada, and it's truly amazing. And we are very grateful to have such a great team who helps us go through these times. Thank you.
So that's the, all of our panel speakers have spoken. So thank you all for coming and sharing and talking about Matos tonight. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Tanya, for being an amazing PTA leader.
And thank you to Ms. Sun and Ms. Young for the work that you do for ensuring that it truly is a learning community. And Principal Vo Feldbinger, your leadership is very evident, and I greatly appreciate you involving all members of the school and making sure that we have a prime example of what a learning community model looks like. And I'm excited for its growth. Thank you. And next, I would like to ask our HR Assistant Superintendent, Jonathan Brunson, for a quick 1-minute update on HR.
Good evening, everybody, and congratulations, Min, on becoming a trustee with our board. And thank you, board trustees, for all the work that you do during this pandemic and our leadership. Real quick, we've added the employee assistance program to our district to support our employees so that they can get the additional services that they may need as they may continue to struggle with this pandemic or just life itself. So these services are now provided free for our members as part of our school insurance group that we belong to. We advocated for them, and it's on our website so that everybody has access to that. And it's because of our employees' work that our students can maintain the level of learning that we'd like them to have in this Educate Everywhere for Milpitas. Also, we've been working closely with our 2 associations with MOUs to support an extended retirement for our employees so they have a chance to think about retirement if that's what's on their minds right now. And with our classified association employees, we've been looking at their essential work and duties, and then how can we support them in 2-way conversations with their supervisors so that we can take care of our schools, our facilities, and our children. And just a special shout out to M&O, MOT, our food service workers, and our tech services department. Thank you so much. And our HR team working at home. Miss you guys, and that's my report.
Thank you. And let's move now to Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Development, Ms. Norma Rodriguez.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. It gives me a great pleasure to just being here and listening. I'm grateful, inspired, and extremely proud to listen to all of our student females who are leaders, who have demonstrated empathy, problem solving, adaptability, critical thinking. They're outstanding leaders. And our principal leader with the team also demonstrating exact same traits. We just have to be very proud of the work that collectively we are all doing. And so for L&D, leading the learning, seeing the fruits of the hard work is just, I'm very inspired, extremely inspired. In continuing the work, one of the things that I wanted to share with the board tonight is that we have another reason to celebrate. There will be a virtual multicultural celebration. April is the National Multicultural Learner Advocacy Month. And since April 2017, the Santa Clara County of Education is hosting an event to celebrate our students and our schools and districts. And our own Milpitas High School is going to be showcasing our newcomer program that started this year. We are going to be joined by County Superintendent Marianne Duan and Dr. Santiago Woods, National Association of Bilingual Education, Assembly Member Kenson Shu, and we will be celebrating the accomplishments and the impact of our multicultural, multilingual learners. You are all invited. It is this Thursday, April 30th from 3 to 4. I will be posting the link so that the community come and celebrate our team. The other celebration that we have is the C2C. As you know, colleague to colleague is a virtual. It's basically our teachers, it's a model bringing our teachers professional development where teachers share best practices and we build a learning community as a collective. This is going virtual because of the recent situation, and we are posting and doing PD on every Tuesday. The workshops that we are providing are by teachers, for teachers, based on their own interests. The first workshop took place today. Some of the workshops are a combination of presentations, interactive workshops, and sharing best practices. It is open for all classified and certificated staff in Milpitas Unified, and it's every Tuesday. We offer 2 sessions starting at 2 and ending at 3. I also needed to report that the Summer Bridge learning planning continues. We are quickly finding out that the current situation requires us to be, to rethink the traditional way of providing summer opportunity for our students. Under the leadership of Director Kusunoki, the team at large is stepping up to this challenge. We are evaluating our current needs and the needs of our students and our staff so that we can develop the best learning experiences under these unique circumstances. The plan has been posted, but we're continually hearing and listening to the ways that we can best adapt this plan. There will be a Summer Bridge program for our students, parents, and we will continue with the learning. And last, I want to thank all of the parents who took the time to give us their input for the MUSD Educate Everywhere Flexible Learning. The parent survey was administered last week. We received, unfortunately, only 700 responses. We want to hear more responses. These were good feedback for us, reasons to celebrate, some reasons for us, opportunities for us to continue to refine our plans. The principals have received their disaggregated data by sites, and they will be looking at, again, their needs with their teams so that they can adjust plans accordingly. I want to thank all of you parents and the community members for giving us your feedback. This is a work that we can only do together, and together we become stronger. So thank you so much. We continue to learn, we continue to pivot, and with the focus of making sure that we meet the needs of our students in this challenging times. Couldn't be prouder of the teachers and their efforts, and classified staff and the entire team, including our site leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. And Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Wendy Zhang.
Excuse me, Cheryl, before we move forward, can we ask Norma a quick question?
Sure.
Norma, what are your plans? You had mentioned you received 700 responses out of 10,300 or 10,300 or so.
Yes.
What are your plans to increase that number to at least 20%, 25%?
So thank you for asking, Vice President Norwood. One of the things that that we are doing is, one of the questions specifically, we asked the parents, which information do you value the most? And overwhelmingly, the parents who responded said that they want to hear from the teachers. They want to hear from the site leaders. And so I am wondering if receiving a survey from the district level is too distant from them. And so I am asking the leaders, the site leaders, to sit with their instructional leadership teams and analyze the data that, that the parents gave us, and for them to decide what are some of the areas that we are going to respond back to our community by school, and share with them the appreciations and also some of the things that they're going to send. So the surveys are going to come from now on from the sites. They are going to continue to send those surveys, receive them, and then the principals reporting to us how they're utilizing the data to adjust their plans and improve their plans.
So if I hear you correctly, you said that the district surveys for staff or the district surveys for the parent communities are the initial framework is going to come from the district, but it's going to be disseminated to the principals, and then the principals and the teachers are going to work on disseminating that information out. And so we're going to do a resend of what we've done. Are we going to make any adjustments to the existing parent survey? One of the feedbacks that I received was that there were some parents that have multiple students, and that survey tended to only be for one. So are there going to be any changes or adjustments before we send out again?
Absolutely, we're going to be making those changes, President Norwood.
And that's going to go out this week?
It is going to go out at the end of this week, yes.
Thank you.
And Norma, is it in multiple languages?
It is in multiple languages. We were able to translate it into Spanish, Vietnamese, and English.
You mean Chinese?
Vietnamese and English and Spanish. We haven't done the translation in Chinese.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess my turn now.
Yes.
Well, and tonight I'll just give the board one highlight from each of the business services departments then. And the business services division has 4 departments, and we are the one who work behind the scene to support Milpitas Educate Everywhere. From student nutrition, from the first day we're under shelter in place till today, we served 95,000 meals. That includes breakfast and lunch all together at 4 locations. And for the accounting and the payroll department, we'll continue to make sure we pay our employees on time. And especially under the COVID-19 situation, we want to make sure our employees are fully taken care of. At least we can provide them the paycheck on time. The MOT department, maintenance, operation, and transportation, their focus is always on safety, student safety, and also the staff safety. Under the current situation, and they're now also focused on securing our campus. And you probably heard some news saying some cities, their other crimes rate dropped, but the school vandalism rate came up. So we're keeping an eye on our school property right now. From our facility and the bond department, and all projects is on track. And our goal is this coming summer, we're under shelter in place, so we can start some of the summer project even earlier. That's now painting, paving, and roofing project this coming summer. And in the meantime, the construction at Meadows and Randall will also continue. So that's all my report.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to the board group agreements. Scott, would you have that pulled up and posted on the screen for members to follow? While waiting for Scott to do that, I believe Michael Sai has a comment. Michael, are you there? All right,
Hello?
I'm gonna move. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Did you finally unmute me?
I didn't do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I was
Go
on
ahead.
mute.
Go
Well,
ahead.
let me repeat my comment again. I was really pleased by the reports from Matto. So I'm real proud of all the work that's been done and that will continue to be done on Educate Everywhere. These are historic times, and we need to make sure learning doesn't stop. And I'm also really proud to all the students in our community who have been stepping up to help with making masks and even using 3D printers to make a face shield and collecting masks for donations. So again, real glad to see our young folks stepping up.
Thank you, Michael, for your comments. All right. We are at item 17, board communications. I will start with you, Michael.
Board communication. No, I don't have anything in particular.
All right. Board clerk, Kelly Yitwan.
Okay. Since April, I've attended several of the weekly School Board Association virtual meetings, the MUSD Team Hall meeting, Russell's Virtual School Site Council meeting, the PTA Council Google Meet, Burnett's Virtual School Site Council meeting. I dropped off some donated masks to the Milpitas Police Department, the Milpitas Fire Department, and City Hall. These masks were made by Amy Stanley and her team. Kudos to them. I attended the Burnett Virtual PTA General and Election meeting. I also checked in at Milpitas High School Chromebook Exchange, and I spoke to the parents and the students to see how things were going. They shared how tough it was, and students wanted to go back to school. I empathized with them and tried to give some encouraging support. Lastly, I participated in the Burnett Parade, the Burnett Car Parade. We drove around Burnett neighborhood and saw teachers and students' reaction. It was such a great feeling being there and sharing the excitement. I also saw that other schools did it. I know it's been pretty hard adjusting to the pandemic, and teachers are working so much harder. So I want to thank you to those school sites for putting smiles on all the students and families' faces. Our teachers and staff are truly the best. So thank you for all that you do and more.
Thank you, Kelly. Vice President Norwood.
Thank you, President Leanne. Since the beginning of this shelter in place in COVID-19, our mobility has been limited. However, there's been plenty of activity around the state of education in terms of not only in Milpitas, but in Santa Clara County and the state. So on a weekly basis, there have been several calls, one locally at the county level, and then also at the state level that I've continued to participate in. I've had the opportunity to join into the implementation of the team hall meetings that Superintendent Jordan implemented a couple of weeks ago, where staff gets together on Fridays for a debrief on the week and updates. And they have approximately anywhere from 100 to 200 of the staff members, both classified administration and teachers that are participating. I had the opportunity also to participate in the Rotary presentations from the nonprofit organizations who had the chance to basically try out their ideas to the Rotary board members, or excuse me, the members of Rotary, and it was really productive for them because it gave the students gave the students confidence to want to move forward and believe in the ideas that they were doing, and also the donations that came from Rotary. So thank you to the Rotary members, President Leanne, Board Clerk Kelly Schwan, and also Superintendent Jordan in helping to inspire them. In addition, I've also attended some of the Educate Everywhere virtual classes early on, and observed when the students were just getting used to being online in a classroom. And it was hilarious to watch them all get online and see each other for the first time where they hadn't seen each other. And then now how there is structure in their classrooms, and they really look forward to being engaged. Also had the opportunity to work with Assistant Superintendent Norma Rodriguez as she mapped out the plan for our inclusive learners and making sure that the direction that they're in, and they're not, they feel as much of a part of the culture we in Educate Everywhere as every other student is. And we continue to learn and how to move things forward. So a special shout out to Kavita, who's a part of that team, who keeps championing that group of students and families and helping them find their voice. Also, most recently, with the principal Rojas at the high school, there is a class of 2020 graduation committee, which includes parents, students, staff members that want to really do something special for these high school seniors to make sure that they understand that we value them, even though a portion of their school year has been cut short. So that's also been a very exciting project to observe in. And finally, looking at communicating with other board members across the region that are looking forward into the future in terms of what the fall will look like, what will the summer look like. Thank you for the announcement of the Summer Bridge program. Thank you for the announcements for the community college courses that are being offered. And the one thing that's becoming more and more vital is that everyone in the Bay Area needs access to the internet. The internet needs to be available like water. It isn't an option for our region based on the way that we communicate, and is needed in multiple languages. And school districts more than ever need to represent all of the communities that they serve in order, when we have unforeseen situations such as this. In addition to, and I'll conclude with this because I can probably go on because we haven't been together for a month or so, but I'm also been on the call on Friday with the city of Milpitas, with mayor, vice mayor, and then also with the recent addition of Carmen Montano, who's a longtime resident as well, talking about the mutual opportunity between the city and the school district of moving things forward during these unprecedented times. So thank you for the opportunity, President Leanne, to share a little bit of the work that I've been doing over the past month or so.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for our district and for really trying to be out there, getting to all the meetings, finding ways to better our school district. We do have a new member, not too new, Mignon.
Thank you, President Leanne. From most part, as a parent, looking at our Milpitas Educate Everywhere, it's just such a fantastic tool. One of the students earlier from Matos talked about leveling up. Well, each week, our teachers are leveling up with sharing the best practices, implementing, and also toning down the curriculum depending on the classes and the students and where their level of engagement are, to continue to increase that engagement. So I'm so proud of everything that the teachers are doing, that what the parents are doing to support the children, and the engagement of the children themselves and the students for really embracing the Educate Everywhere from day one. You know, I have relatives in other cities and school districts, and they talked about, you know, where we're at and where they're at, and they're still struggling to figure out how to create a normalcy while we are just adding to that week in and week out. So I really appreciate everything that the teachers are doing. I look forward to continue to participate in elevating the school district as much as I can with my participation. And so please look out and hear more from me virtually.
All right, thank you.
President Lien, I apologize. There's one other thing that I'd like to mention that I thought was really important, and the being on the Economic Development Plan Committee on behalf of the school district, the city is recognizing during this time the opportunities that the Milpitas Unified School District, adult education, Cal Hills, and our juniors and seniors in high school are offering to the community, and they are looking for increased ways to engage our community as well as our parents on behalf of the school district at this time. So we are being recognized for our work, and we can see our relationship with the city continuing to improve, and it's going to reap benefits for our children, our parents, as well as our community as a whole in the future to come.
Thank you.
Can I add a few things?
Sure.
Yeah, listening to all the activities remind me of a few things going on. I joined in with some of you on those elected officials conference calls. We also had a good conference with County Superintendent Mary Ann Dewan and Councilmember-elect Matt Mahan in San Jose, talking about the online education transition. Been joining the team halls, and it's great to see the MUSD spirit and family coming together during this time. And yeah, I've been continuing to collect masks and donations for our frontline emergency workers. And oh yeah, and right, last thing, just doing a lot of research on how to keep improving distance learning and keeping everyone safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And for myself, I attended all the conferences that all the other board members mentioned, from weekly elected officials conference, the CSBA, the city in Milpitas, and the Milpitas Unified School District town halls, and so on. Superintendent and I hosted a conference just for the Vietnamese parents with limited English, just so that we can help them through with the Educate Everywhere. So with that, I think we're gonna move on because we're running behind schedule now. Let's go to reports. The quarterly report, Superintendent Jordan.
Thank you. We quarterly need to report out to the public and to the board if we've had any complaints regarding our facilities, supplies, textbooks, or teacher credential, and we have not. So again, we are reporting no compliance issues with Williams Settlement for this quarter.
All right, moving right along to the PAR.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent of HR, Jonathan Brunson.
Good evening again. The PAR panel selects and oversees consulting teachers and specialists and establishes an annual budget for the PAR program. And it's based on our participants in the program, and it is determined and is designed for the coming year. Each year, the PAR panel is required to make a report to the governing board and the Milpitas Teachers Association regarding the program's impact on its growth and participating certificated staff. PAR also recommends improvements to the delivery of services within its program. Our PAR chairperson, once again, is Stephanie Woodhams from Russell Middle School, one of our outstanding teachers here in Milpitas, and she will now present the PAR report. And Stephanie, did you want to introduce the PAR team, or would you like me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Since I just threw that at you, right? So our PAR team consists of amazing teachers, Ginger Roy from Milpitas High School, Una Carterin of Spangler, and Stephanie Woodhams, already mentioned. Our admin team consists of Stephanie Park from Spangler, Cheryl Rivera and at Milpitas High School, and Deanna Satan over at Pomeroy, and yours truly. So I'm proud to present our wonderful leader, Stephanie. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to the board, associate members, and Mrs. Jordan about what we've done this year for PAR. So there's a presentation here that pretty much shares everything. I'm not sure if you would like me to share my screen or not.
Yes, sure, please share.
Okay. Whoops, I'm literally sharing. This is how tired I am. Okay. So as Jonathan already stated, the whole purpose of this report is for PAR to share with you what we've completed this year, as well as any recommendations we have for how to improve the program. The whole purpose of our goals for this year was to improve teaching and learning for the teachers that we provided support to, as well as providing support to our consulting teachers. So this is our 20th year of operation, which kind of blows my mind that we are at this point. We always try to seek appropriate guidance and training and support. This year we provided support for one referred teacher and then to one consulting teacher. The consulting teacher was selected based on the needs of the referred teacher and the subject taught. Most especially what was needed in this classroom was offering guidance with classroom management as well as technology support. The referred teacher was offered opportunities to observe in other classrooms. Unfortunately, that wasn't really able to take place due to unforeseen circumstances that arose, and the greater needs were really found within the referred teacher's classroom. PAR continues to provide paid release time to the consulting teacher to make classroom observations and to provide meaningful feedback to the participating teachers. So our recommendations for next year is to continue to recommend that first priority for PAR funding be to support our veteran teachers who are in need of assistance. And at this time, I'm not really sure of any, like there's a potential teacher who maybe will be receiving PAR services, but I haven't received confirmation of that at this time.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any questions from the trustees or cabinet?
Not at this time from me.
All right.
I would, President Leon, Stephanie, I would like to, and team, I would like to thank you for your work each year in supporting our students, in supporting our adult learners who need the extra guidance in improving their craft. And I especially appreciate it when you said you were so tired. It reminded me of the immense effort that it's taking all of our team members in order to provide distance learning. And I really appreciate that you're doing this on top of ensuring that our students have the best dynamic learning opportunities possible from afar.
Sure, thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think the next item is Wendy.
Before Assistant Sup Zhang speaks, I would like to point out that our strategic goal number 5 is to identify creative strategies to accommodate enrollment growth and ensure healthy learning environments. And bonds refunding allows our district to demonstrate not just that we are good stewards, but that we are active guardians of the public's interests in funding school building needs. Ms. Zhang.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for tonight. And I have Blake Beam, our financial advisor from KNN and a public finance firm here. I mean, virtually to share with the board a potential opportunity for us to refund the old bond, the bond that was the Measure E. And as a matter of fact, this past Wednesday, the district, we had a bond oversight committee that consists of our community members and we also the district staff. We went over our bond project, and one of the community member actually also asking the question just to take advantage of the current low interest situation, what the district is going to do. So I think tonight have Blake here to go over this short presentation with the board, and then maybe we can have some directions from the board how to move forward. So I'll turn it over to Blake then.
Thanks, Wendy. Good evening, everyone. Again, this is Blake Beam with Cannon Public Finance, the district's municipal advisor. And, yeah, just generally speaking, we are in a low interest rate environment, and Milpitas Unified in the past has always really looked at opportunities to lower the borrowing cost of outstanding general obligation bonds for the benefit of taxpayer savings. And so, with that in mind, tonight, we'll do a brief overview of the district's bond program as a whole, provide a few updates in terms of assessed value, and then really, get into some of the details regarding the potential refunding opportunity that has been introduced. I have a brief presentation. I'm not sure if it's if I should be screen sharing or if it's each individual will refer to the presentation. I'm not sure how best this works.
Would you share your screen, Blake?
Yeah.
I have the presentation, or you could share it on yours if that's easier. Go right ahead.
It's probably easier, Scott, if you can share it,
Okay.
if you don't mind. And I'll just ask you to click along as we move forward. Perfect. So we can go to the first page, or sorry, the next page one. Okay. So, just to kind of get oriented around the district's program as a whole, Milpitas Unified voters have approved 3 separate bond measures totaling over $443 million, with the original bond going back to the late 90s in 1996, with the 2 more recent measures, Measure E passed in 2012 and Measure AA in 2018. Both 2012 Measure E and 1986 Measure B have issued all bonds authorized. So really the only active measure funding current capital facility improvement projects is the recently approved Measure AA, which authorized $284 million. The Series A bonds were issued in spring of 2019 for $75 million. Leaving $209 million of GEO bonds authorized yet to be issued. The table at the bottom here looks at all the outstanding bonds, and you'll see on the top couple rows are the refunding bonds that have since been sold, refunding some of those bonds going back to the Measure B authorization. There's no longer any refunding opportunities for the 1996 Measure B. What we'll talk about in more detail later this evening is opportunities now to start refinancing or refunding the 2012 Measure E bonds, starting with the first series of bonds, the Series A, that were originally sold in the amount of $55 million. There's currently $44.5 million of those bonds outstanding, and while they're not callable until 2022, there is an opportunity to refund on an advance basis, and I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. The outstanding rate on those bonds is just over 4.5%, and in the current interest rate environment, there is an opportunity to secure a rate significantly lower than that, and that's where the savings would come from. So with that, let's move on to just a brief update on the district's assessed valuation. The last time I presented to the board was at the conclusion of the Series A bonds for Measure AA that we sold in the spring of 2019. So it's been a little while. And so I wanted just to share an assessed valuation update. The county had released late last summer the 2019-20 assessed value. The district tax base is now valued at over 19.6 billion. That represents an 8.2% increase year over year from the 18-19 values. So the district continues to grow at a very strong pace. This helps in terms of general obligation bonds that are supported by the individual homeowner values and tax rates. And has lowered the rates of some of those older bonds and will provide future opportunities to either accelerate or shorten the term of the Measure AA bonds. So strong AB growth certainly is welcomed from a GEO bond perspective. That's the update I wanted to share on assessed value. And now just to kind of go more into detail on the refunding opportunity that I'm here tonight to discuss. So the next page, please, Scott. So just to give a brief snapshot on market conditions. Over the last several years, we've seen rates continue to decline due to global volatility in the markets. Over the last several years, it's primarily been stemmed, one of the centerpieces has been US and China trade wars, which again has produced a lot of macro volatility. And from a market perspective, that produces a flight to quality. So safe havens for investors are the strongest sources to preserve your investment, and that's US Treasuries and the municipal bond market. And that's why we've seen rates continue to decline. Now with the recent epidemic of COVID-19, that has produced further uncertainty and unease within the global economy, which again has furthered the trend of this flight to quality. So what you can see here at the bottom of this page here is two graphs. One which is a shorter horizon of time on the left, going from January 17 to current, and that represents the 10-year Treasury rate. And then the table to the right looks at a broader spectrum of time, a 20-year snapshot in time. So you can see we're on a long term, the graph to the right, we're on a long-standing trend of downward rates. So that kind of is put into context of when those 2012 Measure E bonds were initially sold, where rates have gone since that time. And then more specifically, as of late, that graph to the right, really a significant drop that we've seen starting in 19 to where we're at today in Treasury rates. That drop, both long-term and in kind of our more recent time period, is what produces an opportunity to refinance these bonds and produce savings for the district's taxpayers. So let's look at the refunding opportunity in more detail here on page 4. Again, as mentioned earlier, we're talking about refinancing the Series A bonds that are callable on August 1, 2022. Now, as the district has done in the past, when considering an advance refunding, what that means is you can sell bonds today and lock in rates where they're at today. The proceeds of those refunding bonds are set aside in an escrow account. They can't be used for anything else other than the repayment of the old 2012 Series A bonds at the time they're callable on August 1, 2022. The further out you go from a refinancing call date, the more negative savings there is, because the escrow doesn't earn much in return. Meanwhile, there is a cost of the new bonds. So you can't reach out to refinance all the bonds in today's low interest rate environment. The most viable candidate that the district has is the earliest callable bonds, which are these Series A bonds in 2022. What we've seen is anything much past 2022, specifically 2023 and beyond, that length of time of the escrow draws any viability of a refinancing. And so that's why we're not including any additional series of bonds in our discussion tonight. It's really just focused on the Series A bonds. So moving forward, no, we'll stay on this slide. I'm sorry, just moving forward. Go back to slide 4, Scott. Thank you so much. So about a month and a half ago, district staff as well as K&N received a proposal from Citigroup as it pertains to a refinancing opportunity of the Series A bonds, the 2012 Series A bonds, producing pretty notable savings. And so if I can just bring your attention to the table at the bottom, it highlights some of the savings here that was in Citigroup's proposal. We're talking about refinancing approximately $41.64 million of outstanding bonds that would produce savings of over $3.13 million over the life of the bonds, or in present value terms, over 2.37 million. We always look at it as a percentage, how much savings, PV, present value savings, a percentage of bonds refunded. That's kind of a financial industry benchmark or indicator. For advanced refundings, we like to see anywhere from 3 to 4% as kind of the minimum threshold. The refunding opportunity that we're looking at here currently generates about 6.39. Now, the one thing that K&N, we're not, we have a critical eye on refundings. And so when we receive refunding proposals, we want to look at the opportunity cost of refunding today as an advance refunding versus waiting until we're closer to the actual call date. Given that, as mentioned earlier, with a lengthened escrow period, it does cut away from the amount of savings that a refunding could potentially realize. And that's what you also see in the column next to, at the bottom left there in the darker blue. A current refunding does generate considerably more savings. If you wait until August 1, 2022, the savings more than double. They go from 3.13 to over 7.3%. And as a percentage of bonds refunded, it shoots up from 6.39% to over 14.75. So a current refunding, assuming rates remain exactly the same, is definitely the path that we would want to go. The question is, what do we risk if we wait until August 1, 2022 to actually refund these bonds? And that's what you see on the table to the right, the sensitivity analysis. And so again, it shows if rates remain exactly the same place that they are today, a refunding of the Series A bonds generates, again, that $5.49 million that I mentioned earlier, or over 14.75%. And as you move down, it looks at potential rate increases from where they're at today. And you can see incrementally how the savings would go down if rates increase as we're waiting for the call date. And the break-even point is roughly 106 basis points, or 1.06%. What that tells you is that if rates were to increase between now and August 1, 2022 by over 1.06%, we would realize less savings in the future than we could generate today via an advance refunding. So that's really, that's really the main takeaway that we want the board to know. Yes, savings are strong today. They could be stronger down the road if we wait, assuming nothing happens with rates. Now, Scott, if you wouldn't mind going back up to those graphs on page 3. Thank you. So if you look at that table to the right, kind of that shorter term, this is information that has been collected by Citigroup and by just generally the street, as we say, the financial markets. And with the anticipation of recession on the horizon, many feel that the current low interest rate environment will start seeing rates trend upward, slowly, but trend upward between now and in the future. And what we're seeing here on this chart is even between now and the end of the year, the potential for rates to rise by 0.5% or more, as the Fed may retract some of its cuts made during this COVID-19 epidemic. And so really it's for staff, the board, and KNN to take into consideration whether or not we want to capture our current low interest rate environment in the Treasury market, or do we want to risk waiting in hopes that we can generate significantly more savings by doing so. So, sorry, I'm going to take you now down to page 6. I'm sorry, page 5. This summarizes the refunding, the advance refunding, and the economics of such. Again, this would, an advance refunding today would generate over $3.1 million of savings over the life of these bonds. It's approximately $150,000 a year of savings, debt service savings, going out to 2037 when the Series A bonds retire. To the extent the board would like to seize the opportunity now and advance refund the bonds, the last page of the presentation looks at a conceptual timeline of how it could look moving forward. So on page 6, the last page here, should the board want to move forward, you know, while rates are currently in their current low environment, taking financing documents to the board for consideration as early as May or June, in which case, following an action to approve those financing documents, district staff would then be responsible, working with the financing team, to post the preliminary official statement, which is kind of like the prospectus for the refinancing bonds, followed by a pricing, and close shortly thereafter. So the timeline would run, you know, roughly 60 days from start to finish, maybe a little more, depending on what the district board will do. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions that anyone should have. That's the brief overview that I wanted to share tonight.
Hey, Blake, this is board member Min No. Quick question for you, and thank you for the presentation. Can you go in further detail and explain to me why in an increasing interest rate environment, we would receive less of a savings if we tried to do the refunding now at the lower rate?
Yeah, let me just maybe kind of explain that or re-explain that. So the difference would be is comparing whether we lock in savings now, where we believe savings are quite significant based on the current low interest rate environment. Now, the savings amount improves. The economics of a refunding would improve by waiting, for the sheer reason that the ability to call the bonds is not, it's set at August 1, 2022. So the earlier we get from that date, we basically deposit those monies in an escrow account, and there's a negative draw on the amount of savings. It's called negative arbitrage, is what's generated. And so the earlier you get away from that call date, there's negative savings. Now, because we're in such a low interest rate environment, refunding today still generates ample amount of savings. So does that make sense?
Yes, I appreciate that. And you know, forgive me for the follow-up question. I'm just asking this so that our residents here fully understand this. You know, thank you for your expertise on this. It's not easy to understand. So in essence, with the refunding bond, we're issuing another bond, which is going to stay outstanding for the 2 years before the call date of the Series A bond. So it's not necessarily refinancing and paying that first bond off right away. It has to sit there until that call date. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And you know, without trying to bring everyone into the weeds with this, because it is, there is some complexities to it and nuances, but I think that you framed it very well. That's spot on. And the restriction really is not being able to pay off those old bonds until August 1, 2022. But meanwhile, they're legally off the district's books because that escrow has accounted for legally defeasing those bonds. So the county at that point would only be levying a tax on the new refunding bonds at a lesser debt service requirement level than the current bonds outstanding. Therefore, the savings would be realized immediately, even though the old bonds cannot be paid off until August 1, 2022.
So in layman's terms, and you know, it's basically taking a second mortgage to pay for the first mortgage, but you realize the savings and the interest. Is that a good summation?
Yeah, the concern that I would have in expressing that is cumulatively, we're not adding more debt onto the district's books. By issuing the refunding bonds, even though we can't retire the old bonds immediately, from a accounting standpoint, those old bonds are legally off the district's books. The county will no longer levy a tax for those old bonds, and moving forward, the tax on the district's books, and from a county perspective, they're only levying a tax on the new refunding bonds.
And my last question, Blake, and thank you so much for the time here. How soon will our taxpayers receive that benefit if we go forward with the refunding bonds?
If you do an advance refunding in 2020, district taxpayers would see the lower debt service on their 2020, 21 tax bills that are sent out October of 20 and January, February of 21.
Great, thank you, Blake.
Of course, good questions.
So Blake, and I have a question. So basically, based on this slide, if we refinance right now, we will save roughly 3.1 million right now. What about if we waited for another 6 months? Because I mean, right now, based on current situation, the interest rate probably not going to change much. They're going to stay stable or stay at a current rate probably for a few months. So my question is, if we waited for another 6 months, say around December time, and then will that generate a little bit more savings than the 3.1 million we projected right now, assuming the interest rate is the same?
Assuming interest rates remain the same, there would be incremental increases in the amount of savings realized. The challenge would be, or the risk would be, is if there were movements in the treasury market and/or an increase in the volume of bonds being sold in the treasury space, that could inadvertently impact the rates that Milpitas Unified could receive. So I think from a macro level, we may assume that there's not going to be much incremental movement in rates, but there is enough underlying factors that could change, which may in fact impact and or offset the additional savings that could be realized by waiting 6 months. So sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry, finish your answer and then I'll ask.
Yeah, no, I think just, Wendy, that it's a great point, because I don't think that right now the expectation that many economists have is for rates to jump significantly in our presidential election year. What I'm saying is that there are additional factors that influence what rates actually Milpitas Unified could lock in, even though there's not a notable shift in the treasury market as a whole. And some of those changes could be a huge influx of federal debt that could be sold, which could increase the volume of bonds in the Treasury market. With an oversupply, investors would require higher rates for other municipal debt being sold. And so while there's not in that conceptual a huge shift in Treasury rates that we see posted on Bloomberg every day, there could actually be an increased cost of borrowing for Milpitas Unified's refunding bonds, which could, in that instance, actually offset any incremental savings that could be realized by waiting the additional 6 months.
Okay, so a follow-up question then. So I guess what is your the savings if we refinance in 2022 based on this presentation? So we're going to save roughly 7.3 million, right? So how did you come up with that 7.3 million? Because based on this presentation, it seems like if we waited a little bit longer with the assumption that the rate is the same or will stay the same, and then you wait closer to the callable time, we actually generate more savings. That's why I'm asking the question, what if we wait for another 6 months? So, but based on what you said, that also makes sense because our cost could go up, even though the rate doesn't change. But then I'm curious, then how did you come up with the 7.3 million if we waited for 2 years?
Yeah,
then are there any like some point in the middle that we can save maybe roughly about 5 million? Maybe we do it in a year later. I guess I'm just asking that. You see what I mean?
All great questions, and I'm happy to entertain all of these. If we put ourselves in a bubble, a vacuum that had no effect on our current rates that we could lock in the current Treasury rate environment, if we waited until the old bonds were actually callable, that's how we would achieve the higher savings. Because again, there's that negative draw on the savings from this roughly 2-year-long escrow period. But again, that number, that amount of savings, that $7.34 million number, it assumes that we're in an interest rate vacuum, that there's nothing going to change from where we're at today, fast forward 2 years from now. Does that make sense? And I think, you know, in that very unlikely scenario, then I think that we could all probably agree, you know, why would we do it now? Let's wait. But I think that the questions and you know, really the factors that we need to be asking ourselves are, what's the likelihood for, you know, that circumstance to transpire? Not, you know, being in a vacuum and getting the exact same rates, probably none at all. But do rates hold on enough to actually enhance the level of savings that the district could capture for taxpayers? That's really the question. We know we can save a good amount of money for taxpayers now. You know, do we want to wait and run the risk of rates moving in the wrong direction, in which case it would actually offset any additional savings that we could generate?
Okay, are you done, Wendy? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so again, thank you for the presentation. I was going to ask some questions, but Wendy kind of beat me to the punch. I'm really appreciative of those questions. So I'm trying to speak in layman's terms. It sounds like essentially we're trying to make a bet on the future of how the interest rates are going to move over the next 6 months. You know, it could be they don't move much in either direction. They could go up a little, they could go down a little. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. I'll say this: there's no obligation for the district to do anything in terms of refinancing the old bond. It's really fiscal stewardship. That's really kind of the policy decision that's on the table right now. It's fiscal stewardship of outstanding bonds. We know what the current interest rate environment is. We know we can generate a sizable amount of savings today. And so any decision to wait, it's more of a bet on the fact that the district would have an opportunity to enhance the level of savings by doing a refinancing down the road.
Right. So I understand the district isn't under any obligation to do any refinancing, but again, as stewards of taxpayer money, I believe we should look at all opportunities to enhance savings where possible. My understanding now is this: if we refinance now, it's like we pull the trigger now and we collect one marshmallow worth of savings. And I'm referencing this, that experiment. Do you want one marshmallow now, or do you want two marshmallows later? Now, given the situation, I would prefer to have two marshmallows later, and I think that's better stewardship and savings for the taxpayer. Now, as you said, the risk is that if we try to go for two marshmallows later, it might only be 1.5 marshmallows, it might only be one marshmallow, or it might be 0.5 marshmallows, correct?
Correct.
But the thing is, based on my intuition and understanding of economics, I think it's actually it's reasonable to bet that we're not going to see any interest rate spikes, and if anything, I'm predicting the interest rates might actually go down a little bit as a federal response to stimulate the economy because of this coronavirus, also because of the presidential election. So I think Wendy is definitely on the right track to ask these questions. I think there is a chance for us to metaphorically collect two marshmallows worth of savings later. So I think that's a fruitful avenue to explore.
Blake?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, this is Kelly. And, I'm, in a mortgage business too. So I've been hearing, I've been listening to forecasts, and economists are saying that expect rates to continue to drop. And in 6 months from now, clients that we are refinancing now, we're going to refinance them again in 6 months. So, and I know that, it's a risk and it's not guaranteed, but can we do it now? And then let's say rates drop again, can we do it again?
We can. There's a lot of similarities between refinancing your home mortgage and refinancing outstanding general obligation bonds. There's a lot of similarities. Some of the things that differ are the fact that in a mortgage, you typically just kind of roll your 30-year forward. For a geo refunding, legally, we can't extend the term of the bonds, each refinancing. Another thing that's different is exactly the point that you raised now. Each time we sell general obligation bonds, it coincides with a certain call restriction period for which the new bonds cannot be refinanced again. And what that is it's a protection to investors, which helps to drive down the cost. It's a market standard, frankly, for general obligation bonds in California at very least. And so, I guess the simple answer to that question is no. If we refinanced in May, we couldn't come back 6 months later and refinance again. So it's really kind of a one silver bullet, so to speak.
Okay, and then I wasn't sure if you answered Wendy's question regarding if we do it now, we save the 3.1 million. What would be the savings in 6 months from now?
6 months from now, I mean, we would have to rerun the analysis, which would have a different delivery date for the refunding bonds, a later delivery date, shorten the escrow period. My estimation of that 6 month period would be, it would generate at very least another couple $100,000 of savings. So it's nothing to sneeze at by any means. It would be a good amount of money, that 6 month period. The question would be is, what rates inevitably do.
Gotcha, thank you.
And also, Blake, the city give us a proposal. Did they say how long their rate will last?
Oh, they're going off market rates. So that's another bit of a difference from kind of the home mortgage refinancing, where it's not like a rate lock. It's what they provide is indicative rates of what they believe they could secure in the current market environment. They would still be tasked with actually, we would go, as we did with recently with the Measure AA bonds, when we went out, we had a certain date of locking in the rates, and it was really at that point the underwriter has had engaged with different investors, and then they would be able to actually secure the rates on that specific day. So everything that we're seeing here is based off of information that they provided to us, the current market rates. At that point, it was, in early April.
Okay, I see. So basically you're saying we will have to go through the same process. We have to meet with the rate, the Moody's and the S&Ps, and so we'll show them our financial statement, and based on that, they will give us a rating.
That's right.
So let me ask you another question, because right now, based on the current situation, most of the school district financially you will see we're going down. I mean, everyone is going down because of the uncertainty, the revenue receive projection at the state level. And we're doing our budget projection for the coming year at a conservative way. And so that means you will see in our financial condition, our reserve level will going down significantly for the last year. So will that impact our rating?
With the outbreak of COVID-19, nearly every sector of state and local governments were put on credit watch by the major rating agencies. And that was in anticipation of exactly what you just said. I think the ripple effect of financial impacts on local governments. And so there was no action specifically taken for Milpitas Unified, but the district is part of kind of the larger, the larger optics of what's going to happen down the road. And so the likelihood, depending on what the specific impacts are, at the district, there could be a potential outcome of a rating downgrade from what we achieved last May. And that downgrade would most certainly impact the borrowing cost for any debt, including a refinancing. So that's why I say there are a lot of underlying factors outside of just the big picture treasury market that would affect the actual borrowing cost for refinancing.
Blake and Wendy, so I know that with the private sectors, there are funds, grants that helps with it's like the paycheck protection plans and SBAs. Are there any grants for school districts with this COVID-19?
Definitely, there are grants there, and as a matter of fact, we received $176,000 from the state of California on COVID-19, and you probably also heard the federal government also released the CARES Act relief funding. So the school district were going to get some portion of that funding. So, but also keep in mind, all this grant, they're coming as a one-time money. And this is just to help us to cover our loss during the COVID-19. We shouldn't count on those kind of money to help in our ongoing operations. Our ongoing operation is the cost on staffing, on people. 80% of our budget is on people. That's the challenges that the school districts currently are facing, because based on the current situation, we still continue with our operation with the full pay to our staff. But on the other hand, we do lost some revenue for some programs. And even though there are some grants there, and we tried, if we know any grant out there we can apply, we'll definitely do it. And but as a matter how much we're going to get, that's an unknown, and when we're going to receive it is unknown. So far we know the two grants where at least one is already received, the other is on this way. Are those the two grants I mentioned to you?
So the one that is on its way, do you know how much we're getting?
Well, the estimate is over $500,000 right now from CARES Act. It's a federal grant.
Okay.
But we do have a much more loss in our current, and then also additional cost for the district to implement the Educate Everywhere, and also the coming distance learning.
Of course.
Yeah.
Blake, I have a question. This is Cheryl. So if we were to wait and then we had to go through the credit rating with the big organizations, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, what do you think if they did downgrade us, and I would imagine it'd just be by one, what do you think the impact would be on the interest that we would miss out on at that point in time?
That's a great question. And I don't know that I can answer it with certainty, but I would assume that, you know, say a one-notch downgrade by either or both Moody's and S&P could equate to anywhere between 10 to 25 basis points, which is 0.1% to 0.25%, just based on the rating alone. So not factoring in any market shifts in rates.
So then if the difference between now and the fall is about $200,000, I think you said, is that $200,000 a wash with a downgrade by the ratings company, or is it, would we come out ahead still?
It would be close. It would be real close. I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals being thrown out, and the only way to answer those with sure confidence is to actually run the numbers based on, you know, potentially higher rate based on the downgrade, and compare that to the additional savings 6 months later. But it would be very close to, I think, a wash. I think, you know, you start chipping away at any additional savings that you realize by waiting. So, you know, and then there's also kind of a cumulative effect where, you know, if the Treasury market and rates do not maintain, and then there's a combination with a downgrade, you know, that obviously would then we would be in a negative position at that point. So, you know, there's not, I don't have a crystal ball, and I know that none of us here on this Zoom call have a crystal ball as to what exactly is going to happen. I think my concept is to lay out that we have a viable refunding here, and the concept of if we wait and nothing changes, it does improve the savings situation. But if certain factors change in a negative way, you know, we're gonna probably find ourselves in an equal, if not worse, spot than we otherwise would be by just doing the refinancing now. So, and it doesn't need to be decided tonight by any means. This is information. It's a response to a proposal that was received by Citigroup. There's been a number of other underwriters that have solicited or been interested, I should say, in providing information about this potential refinancing. There could be further thought and we can explore later, or there can be direction given and we can proceed. But that's up to you all.
So Blake, your recommendation is for us to do it now to get this immediate savings of 3.1 million.
I'm not recommending that. No, I'm laying out the information for the district to make a decision. You know, my job is to be a fiduciary to the district, to provide information and allow the board and district staff to make informed decisions about financial matters that, you know, you don't have to deal with every day, at least on the bond front. So my goal today was really to share the information, you know, provide current savings figures, and allow you guys to discuss and figure out what you want to do.
Well, thank you, Blake, for explaining that. I just wanted to say that too. The purpose to have Blake here at this board meeting, to share this information with the board, to serve the purpose that the district actually, we are looking at every possible potential opportunity out there and to save taxpayers' money. But I mean, based on our current bond situation, because our bond is not callable until August 2022. So that plays a little bit trick to our situation. And we just wanted to present the information to the board and also to the community, to let the community, the taxpayer know that we know the current interest rate is low, and what are the opportunities we have right now for our bond. Basically, that's it. And then it'll be up to the board and to make a decision. I mean, do we want to move forward, or we want to wait maybe for another 6 months or for another year? And so that's the purpose tonight for this report.
All right, thank you, Blake and Wendy.
So at this time, I'd like to, based on this being a report, it seems like the most prudent steps would be to ask for this to come back to the next board meeting as an action item. And is that what we would do? And then we would have the additional information as far as some of the speculative questions that we asked that Blake heard us talk about, so that we can make a decision at that point. Wendy?
I'm thinking how to answer your question. I mean, it's not really it'll work that way, because let's say tonight we provide this information and the board could say, okay, we're going to make a decision tonight, we're going to move forward. Then if that decision has been made, then we will go with staff, I will work with Blake on the documentation to get the information ready, and then we'll ask the board for approval. So basically we'll go through that process. If the board feel like, okay, you know, tonight this is just the information item and we want to be able to make a decision, or we wanted to make a decision just to wait for a few months and have the staff come back with information at that time, so the board can make a decision, that is also possible.
So you would be looking for the board on the report to provide direction, and that direction would move you forward in preparing.
Yes. Or at least give us some direction, like what do you want to do? You want to move this forward, or you just wanted to wait based on the information we presented tonight?
Okay.
Because, yeah, because this is a tricky situation for us. Yeah.
Well, it's my recommendation to move forward.
So question, how is our rating now? I mean, will we have a different credit rating, like let's say in 6 months? Is there a different process that we have to go through, or, you know, right now we have a good credit rating, we're gonna use that?
Yeah, we would, every time the district sells bonds, you have to go through the process of pursuing a rating that would be assigned to the new refunding bonds. And so, you know, with that process, you know, the outcome could be something different than the current rating that the district has. Now, even if the district didn't sell any bonds, what the rating agencies do by practice is they do surveillance or check-in ratings to see how things are going. So they may do that anyway, say come this summer or fall, just to check in with how things are going in the district's fiscal picture. And that process could inevitably, you know, result in either the rating staying the same or a downgrade in rating on the district's outstanding bonds. It wouldn't really affect anything because the district has already sold all the outstanding bonds. A downgrade really only impacts district taxpayers when new bonds are being sold.
Okay.
And so if refunding bonds were being pursued we would have to get ratings. We would hope that we would preserve the current rating, but under, you know, basically what we just heard from Wendy, there sounds like the potential for ratings to decrease or go down.
Yes, yes, most likely. Yeah, our rating will go down a little bit. Yeah, will go down. Yes.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, it's what I tell my clients too. It's that if you're able to have some savings now, why not? I mean, there's no guarantee in 6 months that rates are going to be the same or it's going to drop. And it is a significant number. And I don't give advice. I just lay it out there too. This is the number. I mean, if there is a significant savings, why not? It's gambling. If you want to take a chance, it's up to you. And for me, I'm ready to move forward.
Hey, I have a follow-up question. Is there a cost associated to the document preparation or the obtaining a new rating in issuing the refunding bonds?
There's costs associated with all of that.
Yes.
There's rating costs, rating agency costs. There is legal costs associated with the documentation. There's underwriting costs, and there's advisory costs. All of the savings that were discussed this evening are net of those costs, which are paid for out of proceeds of the refunding bonds. The estimate, the current estimate of those costs out of the bond sale, that would be approximately $42 million of par amount. The cost associated with that is about $200,000. Is currently estimated to be roughly $200,000.
Yeah, and as Wendy says too, is that likely our credit rating is going to go down. So there's it's going to have an impact on, you know, our rates and our savings. Yeah. So right now, if our rating is still good, we might as well use that.
No, Kelly, our rate, because the current rate is good, the rating is good. But if we go through this process of refinance, we'll have to go through the rating agency again. And at that time, they probably will downgrade us. But also Blake mentioned, as a matter of fact, one of the, I think Standard Poor has already reached out to me. They wanted to see the latest financial update and the projections. So they're actually reviewing our financial statement as a checking. So this is a really, that's why, you know, this is a really like not gambling, but a decision is, you know, we do it now, we save about 3 million. If we waited until 2022, closer to August, the savings will be almost double, but there are potential risks there. The rate will go up and the other costs, the other changes in the market. So that savings probably won't be doubled, maybe will be less than that. But the question is, the savings at that time, even the rate go up by 1%, is still more than 3 million that we're doing now. That is not unknown. We just have to take a chance, right?
Yeah. The 1% is really kind of that variance where it offsets any benefit of waiting. And a question that I actually have for you, Wendy, is just in regards to kind of the fiscal picture for the district. You know, is it all felt in the upcoming budget year, or is it something that is expected to kind of be felt over several years, in which case, you know, maybe the storyline that's told now maybe doesn't look as doom and gloom as maybe it does a year from now. Maybe that's not a fair question to ask at this point, but.
Well, it's the next 2 years. That was what we're trying to do is we try to close out the current year with as much savings as possible. So we're working on that. But the next 2 years, and with the current economy forecast, and we're projecting a conservative budget. Basically, there will be no cost of living adjustment from the state in revenue funding in the for the next 2 years. That will have a significant impact on our budget projection.
So with all that said, and the presentation from Blake and all the answers that we got, is the board ready to or comfortable to move to give direction to the staff? Or should we have this delayed and bring back for more discussion? I feel that if we are going to move and have the savings now, I don't think the interest rate will drop much more. It's better to have some savings than to wait and take a risk. And, if the ratings go down, our financial situation change, we may not be able to get a better rate.
I think Wendy did raise good points, that the potential future savings may be as much as double of 3.1 million. Again, there is some risk, but if you weigh the risk versus the potential reward, right? That's how we do risk analysis. Like what's the expected outcome, under multiple situations, and you average it all out. I'd say on the balance of it, it's worth it to try and take a wait and see approach. Again, I'll use the experiment where they offer kids, you can have 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later. Well, it might not be like a perfectly accurate number. If we consider the $3.1 million savings now as the 1 marshmallow, there's a good chance we maybe not get 2 marshmallows if we wait, but we might get 1.5 marshmallows. And from my own experience studying economics, I think I'm fairly optimistic that we can realize more than 3.1 million savings if we wait. Maybe not double, but probably significantly more. And I don't think we should turn that down by, I guess, being hasty and trying to grab whatever savings as soon as we can.
Okay.
And that's how I feel.
All right. Thank you, Michael. I do have a public comment, and this is from Robert Young at 1866 North Park, Victoria. The question is, Blake or Wendy, can you tell the taxpayer how much they could save if we execute the plan today at today's rate?
The individual taxpayer, the savings amount for the individual taxpayer would need to be calculated as a follow-up item. That's not something that we have readily available on a per household basis. We have to remember that the $3.1 million that would be saved would be allocated amongst the entire Milpitas community that voted. So it's not on an individual tax bill that's seen next year. It's not going to move the needle drastically. It's really the cumulative impact of reducing the debt. And I know that that's not a direct answer to the question. And unfortunately, I can follow up with that specific answer at a later date.
Thank you, Blake. So board members?
You have, I believe Kelly Schwan has spoken about moving forward. I expressed my interest in moving forward. I believe you expressed your interest in moving forward. So you do have a consensus in terms of the direction at this point, unless Kelly Yip or you have decided to change your minds.
No, I stand.
I stand too.
And this is Board Member No, I'm just going to add, I think we should move forward. Looking at the numbers there, Blake talked about the minimum to even consider this was at 3%. We're at 6% or 6.5%. At that point, I think it's clear that we should move forward and observe the savings to our taxpayers.
All right, perfect. So this is a report, and it is an action item.
It's a report, so
It's a
there's
report?
no action.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're giving direction to staff and also K&N to proceed.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blake, for the
Thank you.
presentation. And thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everyone, for the input and all the public comments from community members as well. All right. Superintendent Jordan, your next item.
Our next item is an update on the design development of Milpitas High School and in relation to the gym and performing arts center. And so I would like to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Zhang.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Cheryl. And so tonight we have LPA architectural firm here, and LPA is the board approved their contract as master architect to design for the high school gym and the theater. And they did some work, and so tonight they would like to share with the board and the community their design phase. So then we can take some input from the board, and then in order for us to move forward in this process. So Walter?
Wendy, I was going to introduce them. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Travis, you want to introduce LPA?
Sure. So
okay.
I'll just provide a short little bit of background. So LPA has met with stakeholders numerous occasions to get this design development going, this programming phase. The committee that we met with consisted of the principal, athletic director, PE lead, music, dance, theater, performing arts, all of those folks, all of those end users. And as you may recall, there was a lot of community outreach prior to this when the facility master planning was going on. So we met with these committees on a number of occasions for the programming. What are your needs? What spaces do you need? And how do we incorporate those spaces into this plan and make sure that everyone's getting what they want? And we did, to touch on the public comment from earlier, we did have some concerns about things of the past, and we're very responsive to that. LPA has been very responsive to that, to be sure that the end user is satisfied that they're being heard and that their concerns are being met, and that the things that they desire as best we can are being implemented into the plan. So I think LPA has done a fantastic job thus far. I think Principal Francis Rojas would agree. I think the committee would agree. And right now we're at a part of the design phase where we would like to present this to the board just to get your feedback, your input, and the okay to move on to the next phase, which is schematic design, which gets a lot more technical. So with that, I would introduce Walter Este, Maria Madrigal, and Helen Pierce, who are our three architects from LPA on this project.
All right, thanks, Travis. This is Walter Este, and President Leanne, and board members, Cabinet, and Superintendent Jordan. Thanks a lot for allowing us to present tonight. Just like to introduce myself. Once again, Walter Este, I'm the Managing Director of Education for our San Jose studio. We also have Maria Madrigal, who is a project architect and project manager for this project, and she's waving right now. And Helen Pierce is also with us, our design director for Northern California. We've all been involved in this project. And next slide. So just as a quick agenda, we'd like to go through our process overview and tell you where we're at with the project and the project schedule, talk a little bit about our engagement with the stakeholders. And then Maria's going to present the programming portion of it, where we're at. Programming is complete. As Travis said, we've had some great meetings, and so we'll go through the goals that we use to sort of run the programming through. We also will go through the gym and fitness center program, the performing arts center program rather quickly, and then we'll take questions or comments if you have any. So next slide. So our process, next slide. We just want to give you a quick update of sort of where we're at. So see if you can go back one, Maria.
Sorry about that.
No problem. You can see our dashed line there where we're at today. We have just completed programming with the group, with the stakeholder group, as Travis said. After this, assuming everyone's in agreement today of where we're at, we'll go through schematic design and go through sort of the regular process of design development and then develop construction documents. And then, of course, submit to the DSA, and you can see the bidding and construction, and then time frame of opening in early summer of 2023. So that's where we're at with this process at this point. Next slide. And I just want to remind you, so LPA was did direct the campus master plans, both for Milpitas High School and the Air site. During that master plan, we had pretty good stakeholder involvement with both campuses. And so we met at Milpitas High School and at the Air site. We met with students. We had a lot of different focus groups meetings. We presented to the board. We had steering committee meetings. We did some surveys, and we met with quite a few of district staff and community members. So we're using that campus master plan as a springboard to move forward with the design programming of the gym and fitness center and gym and performing arts center. So next slide. And just to tell you a little bit where we're off, we've had about 5 meetings through this programming effort. They've been fantastic. I want to say we kicked off this meeting and did our first programming meeting in person. And then thank you to COVID-19, we had some, what I consider some really productive meetings for our programming meetings 2, 3, and 4, which were all online. And so I want to thank right now the Principal Rojas and his staff and the teachers for basically having really 100% attendance on these online meetings. They were kind enough to meet during your spring break and meet with us to finalize the programming effort. So we had fantastic involvement from there, and I think the meetings, albeit a little bit maybe new in terms of the way we deliver this programming effort that you might typically see. We collaborate quite a bit as a firm online, and I think it was pretty successful with Francis and his group. And so with that, I will turn it over to Maria to present the programming.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to quickly go through the result of these meetings and where we landed with the programming for the project. So just to reiterate, during the master plan process, we developed these project goals for Milpitas High School. So these are goals that we definitely continued during programming and will continue to implement during the entire design process, and they are relieve congestion, provide a public face to the performing arts building, be a community resource, have a safe and secure and student-centric spaces, support current and future physical education and athletic needs, and celebrate the diverse community of Milpitas. So did the slide change for everyone? Okay, there it goes. So just to kind of refresh your mind of what the master plan entailed. So right now we have outlined in yellow the scope for this particular project. So the Performing Arts Center, and then at that time, the 2-story practice gym. There are a couple other projects that are not part of the scope, but there will hopefully be future projects. So I just wanted to quickly run through some of the major changes that occurred between the campus master plan and the programming exercise that we did for this project. So the main change essentially was that after talking to the focus groups, we learned that the biggest need for the campus was actually to have more athletic courts for the physical education department. So really serving the most amount of students in the gym space. So because the gym space then grew in footprint, we actually removed some of the program that would have been in the second story space and moved it over next to the aquatic center and the field. So this additional building here contains a weight room, an exercise room, and then a trainer's room, which was also added in this programming exercise. And it was determined to be a need by the athletics department. So now I'll go through in a little more detail as to what the final program ended up being for these spaces. So as you can see on the screen, this is the gym, and just to orient you a little bit, so the locker rooms are up here, the field and bleachers are to the left. So this gym space is intended to be a flexible space to accommodate athletics and physical education, as well as student activities like, rallies and other smaller activities like that. So this gym accommodates 9 badminton courts, 4 volleyball courts, 1 full-size basketball court, and 3 basketball cross courts. And it also has provisions for about 5 rows of bleachers, which will probably fit about 200 spectators. In terms of the support space for this building, we essentially have a couple of storage rooms for athletics and for the gym, and then boys and girls restrooms, laundry room, and a couple of gender neutral restrooms. At each corner, we have a vestibule, which essentially provides an entry point, both from the student access point, which is through here, and also potentially for the community to access either after school or on the weekends when there's events going on. And this essentially is just an extruded version of the diagram I just showed you, but you can start to see the relationships that occur and kind of creating some visibility from these vestibules into the gym. Moving on to the fitness center, this is a pretty straightforward program. So the fitness center includes a 3,000 square foot weight room with, and this green area is outdoor space. So that was one thing that the site committee desired for the space, to have the ability to open up the room into an outdoor area and kind of bring the activities there. And then an exercise room, about 2,000 square feet, and then the training room at 500 square feet. And this program is intended to supplement both physical education and the athletics department in terms of conditioning and training. And again, this is just an extruded version of that program, starting to look at how we can accommodate glazing and provide separate entrances to each of these spaces while having the trainer room kind of front and center for visibility and also access to the field. So now moving on. Sorry, what was that?
So if you can go back.
Sure.
When you talk about the stakeholder group, what was the makeup of the stakeholder group in terms of male to female in the decision-making process and the design? Because we ran into an issue a couple years ago in terms of some things moving forward, and then in hindsight, they realized that there wasn't a girls, what was that? A facility for the ladies to be able to change or to have a facility like the boys had in their locker room. So I want to make sure, as I hear about this, that all those things have been taken into consideration, that both gender, the leadership and the folks that were involved, make sure that the needs of both genders were addressed.
Yeah, so
sorry, wrong language. All genders were addressed.
yeah, so the focus group consisted of Joanna Butcher, the athletic director, and Corinne Osborne, the PE lead, as well as Jeff Lamb, the former athletic director. And to address that question specifically, in terms of this weight room and exercise room, there are no changing facilities in this, so we're still using the locker rooms that are on campus. So it wouldn't really be an issue in this particular building Does that answer your question?
Well, you said it wouldn't really be an issue,
Yeah.
but for the sake of this component, yes. But I want to make sure that it has been noted that we want to make sure that the needs, and we do look at these spaces as both being utilized equally by male and or by utilized equally, however that is defined based on the needs of Milpitas High School.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to the Performing Arts Center. So this slide is just sort of to orient you. I will zoom in into these program spaces so you can get a better look at what those are. So this is Escuela Parkway, and this is the main driveway to the campus. So essentially, just generally, the way we placed this building was so that the theater and the lobby and had that more public front was at the corner and had a more visible presence to the community, and then having the performing arts classrooms adjacent to the campus and having that connection so that they felt more part of the campus. So the main theater is a 550 occupant theater. It has a full stage with rigging as well as performer support in terms of a design tech classroom, you know, a couple of prop storages, costume storages, and dressing and changing rooms. The building is sort of knuckled by the Black Box Theater, which has a dual use. So it will be used for drama instruction as well as smaller performances. So it's kind of fitting that it sort of falls between the two spaces. And then the lobby is accessible from the student access here, as well as from the public access over here. In terms of the performing arts classrooms, there is a band classroom, an orchestra classroom, and then a choir classroom. And each of these classrooms have their appropriate support spaces. So for example, each of these has a practice room appropriate to the size of the instruments or equipment they would use, as well as instrument storage, or in choir's case, robe storage and a shared library. So same thing for band, there's percussion storage, general instrument storage, and then marching band and uniform storage. So again, this is an extruded version of that diagram I just showed. And here you can start to see some of the relationships to the street and the community, and how the lobby quite literally and figuratively sits proud of the rest of the building. And the intent of that is to bring that public front to the community. That was one of you know, when we talked initially in the kickoff meeting, that was one of the desires, that, you know, this is kind of a keystone project for the community as well as for the high school itself. So hopefully that gave you a good overview. We'll be happy to take any questions or comments at this time.
If I could add, this is Walter again, if I could just add one thing, I just want to note that, you know, Maria pointed out the difference between the master plan and our programming effort, where we basically took the two-story building of the athletic facility and put it into two buildings. We did not increase square footage. We basically just made the two-story building, and we did two one-story buildings. So the total square footage remains the same. We're not increasing costs or anything like that. We just found it, because we're confined by the old pool, where the old pool used to sit, and trying to maximize the amount of courts. We thought it better to move the fitness center over to the west a bit, near the football field. So I just wanted to add that comment.
Walter?
Yes.
Cheryl? And what about the cost?
Right now we're
to a two-story and then moving it the way it is.
Yeah, so at this point, you know, we're sort of looking at kind of big picture numbers still, but because we haven't increased any square footage, the cost should be the same. And as we develop the design further in schematic design, we'll come back with an actual cost estimate at the end of that to confirm that we're still within budget.
Travis, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, so I reached out to two of our lease-back contractors just to kind of confirm that in general terms, building a one-story building is more cost-effective than building a two-story building. With this program and going through these programmatic changes, there was a good cooperation between Joanna and Corinne Osborne with regard to how they balance the PE program with the athletics program and how those things overlap. And so moving this building out into that area was kind of one of their ideas, was a good spot for that. So I think that they put a lot into how do they mesh those programs? How does athletics and PE exist in the same area and cohesively and all of that? So as far as cost goes, I would say that my experience is we're going to save money by not doing a two-story. I think for me, I prefer not to have balls and stuff bouncing above me if I'm below doing something else. So I think it's a great program. One of the big concerns of the committee, and the one that Maria and Walter and Helen are addressing here, is we really wanted maximum amount of hardwood floor space, actual usable space for program. And that's what they delivered. And switching this fitness center down to the athletics field is another great location for that, because you have 6 or 7 sports surrounding that. So I think it's a great fit. I think great ideas from the committee. And I think at this point, everybody's pretty thrilled with both the Performing Arts Center, the fitness center, and the gym as it sits.
I do have a public comment that I can read it to you, Travis and Walter. It is from Charles, and the question is there a provision to add some electric charging spaces usable by staff during the day and to the general public for a profit after hours? I guess this would be
Car charging.
02.
So are we talking about car charging stations like a Tesla or whatever?
Yes.
I think in the next phase of construction at Milpitas High, you'll see that a bunch of portables. So on Maria's last slide that showed the extruded version of the Performing Arts Center, you can see all the portable buildings up there to the top left. Those will come out. We have to reconfigure parking because the Performing Arts Center is sitting where parking currently exists. So there's some shuffling around and reworking of parking, outdoor basketball courts and all that. I don't know if we specifically have put in charging stations. I know Brian Shreve is real good at finding those things in grants like he did for the buses. And so it's certainly something we can consider in the program. I think it's a value. I think there's quite a few people, certainly in our district, that drive electric vehicles. So yeah, certainly something we can speak with the LPA team on the next phase, should they design that. It's a good idea.
I agree.
In regards to the weight room and fitness center, is that a field level view of the football field and I guess the soccer field?
Yes.
So when I looked at the current design, it looked very rectangular, and taking the opportunity, as we talked about training our bodies, we also want to train the minds of our young students. I know that they talked about the outdoor area, but it looks like the outdoor area kind of looks into the in-between space of the soccer field and football field. Is there any opportunities to kind of look at the design to kind of have a better view of the fields, so that from a mental perspective, as they're weight training, they'll get that inspiration? And granted, we have a gorgeous track, gorgeous field, and gorgeous soccer field there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some dialogue on that, and it was actually the opposite, believe it or not. They didn't want the kids to get distracted by who was outside running around doing what. So what we came up with was a pretty good compromise in that, this is programmatic, so schematic will get much more detailed for sure, but that you would have this indoor area and then an outdoor area. So some kids would be out outdoors. You know, you could do some sort of CrossFit type of training outside. You have your big platform, heavy free weights inside, that sort of thing. And then the exercise room, the opposite. One thing with the exercise room is we have to be concerned about baseballs flying over the backstop, because that south end of the exercise room is exposed to that. But certainly something we can consider moving into schematic design and bring up to the committee and get their input on, you know, how much of that do you want? I agree, you know, I play a lot of sports too, and other people can motivate you. Everyone's out working hard. It's motivating when you see that. So we can certainly consider that moving into schematic.
Yeah, I would just reiterate Travis's statement. The diagrams that the drawings that you're looking at are at this point diagrams that represent the program that we developed. We are in the programming phase. So in schematic design, all of this will be sort of revisited and reconfirmed with the stakeholders.
Great, thank you.
Are there any further questions, comments, concerns?
All right, thank you all for the presentation. I don't see there are any other questions from board members, staff, or public members.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Superintendent. Let's moving on to action items. A, adopt resolution 2020.32 recognizing and honoring April 2020 as Autism Acceptance Month.
And this time our resolution was created by students as well as parent leaders. And I'm going to ask Scott to give us insight into the autism awareness resolution and the video that the students made to go with it.
Okay. Yeah, so just another amazing job by some Milpitas students that worked for about a month on this resolution. Once again, the board has asked for more meaningful resolutions, more locally relevant resolutions. And this was, you know, 30 plus days of analyzing each graph of this resolution. And in the end, they also produced a video reading of the resolution on autism. And I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle. I am the president of the MHS Prognia Club, and I have been in the Prognia organization for about 3 years now, and I have achieved the Ally Grandmaster.
Hi, my name is Nikhil Kichili, and I'm a 9th grader at Milpitas High School. I'm also a secretary for the Milpitas Prognia Club. I've been an ally for the Prognia organization for about a year.
Hi, I'm Nitin Ramesh, and I'm the future president of the Milpitas Prognia Club.
Hello, my name is Paul Gill, and I'm the treasurer from the MHS Prognia Club. Whereas, I'm here to talk about autism. Autism is a developmental difference that typically manifests during the first few years of an individual's life. It doesn't matter what race, color, or where they live. It results from different type of neurological wiring that affects social, cognitive, and communication skills. The differences range widely in each individual and are as unique as every person's neurological makeup. The difference is understood as a disability to function effectively in today's mainstream society, largely built by a neurotypical individual.
Whereas, in 2020, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that approximately 1 in 54 children in the US was diagnosed with autism. This number seemed to be on the rise due to higher awareness and increased testing in the early developmental phases of an individual's life.
Whereas medical expenses for children with ASD are shown to be 4 to 6 times greater than those without ASD, and whereas, while there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it is often possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas, while there is no diagnostic test for ASD, the increased awareness of autism and the detection services available today make it possible for more people to be properly diagnosed with ASD.
Individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health, safety, and well-being. Families need support with the psychological stressors and economic burdens that autism presents. Seclusion, isolation, and segregation from the mainstream society.
Whereas, the work of autism acceleration has begun on a grassroots levels at Milpitas High School through the incorporation of school clubs such as the Pragnya Club, who organize weekly integration activities in the CBI classroom, like lunch socials, karaoke, and pizza parties, involving them in club meetings. Young Creative Society, who conduct integrated art projects, and Best Buddies, who pair up with their ASD friends to play games, are some of the other clubs at Milpitas High School who actively engage in autism acceptance and inclusion activities.
Whereas in 2019, the California State Legislature issued a certificate of commendation for the Pragnya Club at Milpitas High School in recognition of their academic awareness and inclusion effort, and for hosting the first ever all-inclusive integrated dance contest. Step up for Pragnya Ally, President of the Milpitas High Pragnya Club, Michelle Fram, also received congressional recognition for leading the activism acceptance effort at her school. Pragnya Club allies Michelle Fram, Nikhil Kichi, Amit Gill, and Nitin Ramesh illuminated and contributed towards drafting the resolution of autism acceptance at MUSD.
Whereas, when youth with autism get to participate in programs in the community with their family, friends, and neighbors, they learn from their peers who serve as their circle of support and are also role models to help them with social skills and communication, thereby preparing them for a life of dignity and respect within the community. Whereas, how autism acceptance will be beneficial. First off, autism acceptance is acknowledging that someone has ASD and making them feel like they're not any different from the rest of the community.
One way that accepting autism will be beneficial is by having them know that they are being included with everyone in their community.
Letting them participate in events will make them happy and will have them think that we are acknowledging them for their developmental difference and accepting them for who they are.
Another beneficial factor that can come from this is that they'll know that they're not being segregated from anything. This will allow them to stay happy and have the feeling of being involved instead of being segregated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Milpitas Unified School District hereby proclaims the month of April 2020 as Autism Acceptance Month and encourages all educators to commemorate this occasion with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs fostering integration.
Thank you, Scott, for an amazing video and allowing and really hearing our voice about making these resolutions much more meaningful and heartfelt. And when the time is appropriate, I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution or to adopt the resolution.
Please do.
I want to just applaud. It's so inspiring to see, our students in the community be part of our board meeting and producing these videos for these resolutions. So with that said, I will second that motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Can I comment?
Yes. Michael?
Okay. Yes. Oh, wow. I was just so thrilled to see that video presentation, and I'm so glad to see these students stepping up and, support our autism community. There's a bit of good news here too. Recently at the federal level, the education department moved to protect our special needs student community during this time of the coronavirus. And I think it's especially important that we support them because some of these kids are having more difficulties adjusting to staying at home and needing that human interaction. And I really want to commend Pragnya for the good work they've been doing. They're actually raising money now for the cause. And, if anyone is able to donate, I would encourage it.
Thank you, Michael. All right. Any other comments? If not, we do have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The resolution carries. The resolution passed. All right. There are public comments. I would like to ask Scott to read that for the record. Please note that we may not have the answers for you now, but Superintendent Jordan or staff will get back to you with the answers. Scott?
Okay, let's see what we got here. This is from Allison McDonald of Kevenair Drive. And her comment was on the previous item, what happens to the old theater and band room in the new plant? And that was hers. And then we had Robert Jung of North Park Victoria Drive. And he also on the same item had asked, can you talk a little bit about number of parking spaces and how to manage the limited parking spaces, especially for the performances with 500 plus people attending? And then I have one more. Oh, we read that one. This one's from Michelle Kessinger of David Lane, and she is the CSEA president. I wanted to comment on Wendy's report. As I recall, we are sheltered in place. You mentioned that you are going to use this time wisely and move summer work up, such as painting. The governor has asked us to follow the executive order for a reason. The framework that was put together by labor unions and management representatives clearly states that this is not a time to play catch up on work, but rather a time to not put our employees at any undue risk. I would hope that this would be a further discussion as to how our employees are being asked to do essential work. Summer painting can wait. And those were the three comments.
Thank you, Scott. Superintendent, would you follow up on those after this meeting?
Actually, one of them is coming up in my next item, and I'll respond to that then.
Okay, then the next item is yours. Oh, Wendy.
It's my item. Is B is Travis.
Oh, this is the easement. I'll take care of this item then.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the easement. This is the easement agreement that the district worked with Carl's Jr.'s owner on Meadows. Scott, will you be able to open the attachment with the picture? So this can be reminder to the board that I shared with the board in a few months ago when we asked the board to approve the designed to fix the road. Basically, back then in 2017, when we're about to do construction work at the Meadows, one of the conditions is to fix the mechanism. We have to correct the roadway alignment. That's the official term. And in order to do that, we needed to, since we don't own the property, so we needed to get the easement from the Carl's Jr. properties owner, so then we can work on their property. Ever since we realized there's a condition in our construction permit issued by the city of Milpitas, staff has been reaching out to the Carl's Jr. own properties owner, trying to negotiate an agreement. And it has been a while. So finally, I'm actually very excited to share with the board that we were able to reach an agreement now. And with this easement agreement, it will allow the district to start work on the property so we can fix the road. And because the city of Milpitas wanted the district to correct this before we fully occupy Meadows after the phase 2 construction. So the timeline just works out perfect. And there are still other process after the board approves this agreement tonight. We'll have to record the easement with the county, and then we'll go out to bid the work. And for the cost of this agreement, for the 2 easement is $50,000. The $50,000 will be from our bond fund under Meadows project. And the reason why we need a 2 easement, one is the easement. I wonder, Scott, will you be able to pull the picture from the attachment in the agenda?
That wasn't the picture that I had on there?
Oh, I couldn't see it. So.
Oh, you couldn't see it. The picture that you gave me, I just had on the screen, and I'll put it back up there.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Road work photo.
Yes, yes. So if you remember, yeah, this is the road that we need to fix. Basically, if you're driving from Landis from the south and towards McCandless, and you make a right turn, and you will see this is the right turn just right over there at the entrance to get into our school. And the city of Milpitas want us to cut the curve and then move the PG&E, the utility box further away so we can widening the street, and then it'll be safer that way. So anyway, so this is the easement agreement about the property over here. We don't own the sidewalk, from the curve there. And also the other piece of the easement is the public utility easement. That will be the work that we will have to work with the PG&E to either lower the vault, the utility vault, or move it. And we're waiting for PG&E to give us a cost. And we have agreement with the city, whatever way it saves us money, and that is the way we're going to do it to take care of this issue. So tonight I'm asking the board to approve this easement agreement so that we can move forward to get this work done. And after we fix the road and then got accepted by the city of Milpitas, we will also need to transfer the easement to the city so that the city will manage from then on. Any questions for this easement agreement?
Did you say it was 50,000 for both easement or 50,000 each?
50,000 for both easement.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions we have for Wendy?
No questions on my front. I know that we've been talking about this for a long time when I
Yes.
was around previously. So to me, I'll put a motion out there to approve the easement.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, your easement is approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Jordan on item C.
Okay, so item C is ratifying the action that I took on March 17th to declare our school projects as essential public works, as is allowed by both our declaration of state of emergency, authorizing the superintendent to take action in regards with contracts during this COVID time, and also following the executive order of the Public County Health Department officer, we ensured that we submitted the notice to our contractors, outlining to them the requirements for ensuring safety and social distancing and PPE requirements. And as stated, this does fall in line with strategic goal number 5, which is striving to provide students and team members with healthy learning environments, which includes capacity, safety, and security. And we are going to be doing our summer bond projects of painting. That answers Ms. Kessinger's question. It is not our school employee who is a painter. It is the painting contracts that we have for the bonds, similar to last summer, where we had painting, roofing, plumbing, all those security types of and safety types of projects. So that is what those projects are. And I would like the board to ratify the actions that I took. And you'll notice in the attachments examples of the social distancing form, the letter to Block Construction deeming their project an essential public works, as well as the public bulletin, which identifies our other projects that are deemed as public works due to the need for capacity, safety, and security.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none, you got that emergency action, Superintendent.
Thank you. The next one is also under safety and security. And the board might recall that last spring we had a safety and security analysis completed. And one of the items was to complete an update, not complete, but to update our school safety plans. And we discovered in updating our school safety plans that they have never been brought to the board for review and approval. So this is our first time bringing school safety plans to the board, and it will become an annual action for school safety plans to be approved by the board. And I would like to ask Milton Quesada, who's in charge of these safety plans and ensuring that they're completed.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We have been working with assistant principals who are our site safety officers, the student services, and myself to gather all the information needed to do the changes for this requirement. In collaboration with Santa Clara County Office of Education, we came up with this form fill template to entering the information needed. One of the new requirements ask approval for board members and local law enforcement, which includes fire department as well as parents. I really want to thank site administrators for putting all the effort necessary to gather, to put everything together, especially during this situation that we're currently in. Thank you all very much.
So one thing I noticed about this school safety site plan is that it doesn't include anything that's recent about our social distancing or COVID-19. Now, I know this is early stages. I'm probably premature in asking that question, but any thought in incorporating those policies and procedures into this safety plan?
That will be in the SIMS binder, and it will be the pandemic side of it, and it's on the SIMS binder.
Milton, would you mind sharing what SEM stands for?
So the SIMS binder, it's the reference that we have, all the procedures and fire drills and where to. It's a reference guide for any event, any catastrophe or other types of events.
And SEMS stands for
Yeah, Milton, what does SIM stand for?
I'm sorry, I'm nervous, and I don't have that answer, sir. Sorry.
It's the Standardized Emergency Management System.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, we all knew that.
I'm not used to being in public talking.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
Hey, thank you for answering the question. Again, I'm a little premature because we're still in an emergency crisis status. However, in future planning, right, when the county or state or federal level decides that we need a new norm, looking into this plan, there should be a section for those updated policies, procedures.
Board member, no, if I can help Milton out a little bit here. What he referred to, the SEMS, is that manual which describes our different procedures for all types of catastrophes, everything from pandemic planning to a plane crashing on a school campus. So that is there, and we can share the SIMS manual with you if you'd like. It's not something that is typically public though, but we could share it with you confidentially.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good job, Milton.
Yes, thank you, Milton, for
thank you all
for the reports.
Thanks.
I know you've been working on that for quite a while.
Yes.
Get used to it.
And don't be nervous.
Okay, I won't.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So
we need a motion to approve the comprehensive school safety plans.
Motion to approve the comprehensive safety plan.
So second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Safety plan passed. We're moving on to the consent items. Consent items are considered one routine and will be acted upon by the board in one motion. There is no discussion on these items prior to the motion unless Members of the board, staff, or public request that item to be tabled or removed for discussion or correction. Are there any items to be removed or tabled? None?
None on my part.
All right, if that's the case, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
I motion to approve all the consent items.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Come on, guys.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Did we hear from you, Michael?
I said aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, we didn't hear you.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
motion carries. Dates on future board meetings. Let me get to that. May 12th at 5 p.m. closed session, 6 p.m. open session. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. May 12th, study session at 5, closed session at 6, open session at 7. May 26th, study session at 5, closed session at 6, open session at 7. June 9th, the study session at 5, closed session at 6, and open session at 7. Wait for the email coming from Scott with the Zoom link to dial in or to log on to join the meetings. Announcements and reminders, members and cabinet.
Yes, we will have a May 19th special board meeting on COVID-19.
All right. Would you send reminders out to all the board members to see if they're interested in attending
Yes, I will.
virtually? Mhm. Any other comments?
Yes. So I just want to remind our Milpitas community that the masks are required when you're out doing your essential work. Milpitas Rotary and the Lions Club, we are working with the city to collect and to distribute the masks. So we're asking if there's any donations in either, money or mask, or even, we need volunteers to help us make masks. And if you are in need of masks, please send an email to Milpitas Masks, plural, okay, at yahoo.com. That's Milpitas Mask at yahoo.com. And right now we are limiting 2 per household until we have more masks coming in. Thank you.
All right. I do have to say this now before I forget. I would like to thank all the teachers who have worked so hard to convert the conventional class meets onto online teaching, and the superintendent, the executive cabinet, the principals, the IT technicians, and I guess everyone who's been working so hard to take the lead in making this lesson compatible into online flexible learning, and the coordination, the hard work, and the dedication makes it so seamlessly. We don't even feel that it's possible. but within such a short period of time, we are the best out there. So thank you. I know teachers have been working very, very hard, not just 8 to 5 like classroom time or 9 to 3 classroom times. It's nonstop. So thank you so much for all that you do and for loving our MUSD family.
You're welcome, President Leanne.
Thank you. All right, any other comments, announcements, reminders? Please stay safe, stay healthy, get out, breathe some air, get some sun. Walk if you can. And with that, I would like to call this meeting to adjourn. Oh, Michael, do you have a question or comments?
Oh yeah, so some comments.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I echo all of President Ian's remarks. You know, thank you for everyone who's been making this transition to distance learning possible. I really want to give a shout out to Chin Song and the tech team. You know, we were out there distributing Chromebooks, and that's just so vital, so vital to helping students learn. And I think it was a huge success. We're ahead of other districts in this regard. And even still, we can and should keep doing our best. And I would also, you know, encourage everyone to. I know some people were disappointed to hear that the shelter-in-place order was extended, but please try to do your part and think about, you know, those who are elderly and maybe have underlying health conditions. You know, this can only work if we all do our part. So please respect shelter-in-place, everyone. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. All right. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.